Chapter 359. Although Yang Kuan was extremely reluctant to use the exclusive method of transmission, he had no other choice. Tu Zhan's cultivation was at the middle stage of yin-yang state, while he was only at the late stage of real martial state. There was a huge gap between their strength. Even the strongest person in the city lord's mansion was only at the peak of primal core state, which was still a far cry from Tu Zhan. Filled with unwillingness, Yang Kuan left the secret chamber. City Lord Yang, isn't it a bit rash to open the great protective array? Outside the secret chamber, Sun Xingjian, the head of the Sun family, said hesitantly, "Opening the great protective array is not a joke. Since the establishment of Ivory City, the great protective array has only been opened twice." "Alas, I know that too," sighing, Yang Kuan said helplessly. "The last 2 times the great protective array was opened were to defend against the barbarians. I don't know why we need to open it this time." "In that case, why don't we open the great protective array?" Sun Xingjian said in a deep voice. "I'm afraid not. Tu Zhan is a martial artist at the middle stage of yin-yang state. If we dare to disobey him, the consequences will be unimaginable." Shaking his head, Yang Kuan said, "But once the great protective array is opened, we won't be able to investigate the Zhang family." Sun Xingjian hurriedly said, "The Zhang family is very likely to collude with the Yin Corp sect. Once the great protective array is opened, they will be on guard. I can't do anything about it. We can only take one step at a time." Taking a deep breath, Yang Kuan left to prepare for the opening of the great protective array. Behind him, Sun Xingjian stomped his feet and left the city lord's mansion, returning to the Sun family. In the secret chamber, Tu Zhan threw Ningyu and the Dark Emperor aside. He sat cross-legged, took out a few top-grade origin crystals, and began to absorb and refine them. Seeing Tu Zhan's appearance, the Dark Emperor's mind became active. After a moment of silence, he whispered to Ningyu, "Why don't we join hands and kill this old man while he is resting?" Saying this, the Dark Emperor stretched out his hand and made a cut on his neck. Shaking his head, Ningyu said, "Tu Zhan is a martial artist at the middle stage of yin-yang state. Even if we join hands, we won't be able to kill him." "Humph! At least you have some self-awareness." Right at that moment, Tu Zhan grunted coldly and said, "All of you are no different than ants in my eyes. I can crush all of you whenever I want to." "Hee, old man, don't be so arrogant." The corner of the Dark Emperor's lips curled up as he laughed. "If you wanted to kill us, you would have done so long ago. Why wait until now?" Tu Zhan stood up with a whoosh and arrived in front of the Dark Emperor in a flash. Before the Dark Emperor could react, Tu Zhan's left hand quickly struck out and firmly grabbed the Dark Emperor's neck. "Although you are a purple-gold sky-devouring hound, in my eyes, you are no different from a dead dog." Tu Zhan exerted some force on his wrist and said coldly, "The reason why I haven't killed you is because a living heaven-devouring dog is very useful to His Majesty. If you don't know what's good for you, I'll cut off your tongue." "Tu Zhan, let's talk this out." Ning Yu's expression was a little ugly. He was very angry that his good brother had been threatened by Tu Zhan. However, Ning Yu knew that he could only bear with it for now. If he couldn't even bear with something like this, how could he achieve great things in the future? Furthermore, Tu Zhan didn't really cut off the Dark Emperor's tongue. If Tu Zhan really did cut off the Dark Emperor's tongue, Ningyu would fight to the death with Tu Zhan even if he had to risk his life. Bang! Tu Zhan raised his eyebrows when he heard Ningyu's words and casually threw the Dark Emperor into a corner. Then, Tu Zhan said to Ningyu, "Bring me your storage ring. I want to study it." "Oh, right. I also want to take a look at the red flying sword on you," Tu Zhan added. Hearing this, Ning Yu's expression darkened. Whether it was the storage ring or the red fiend sword, he didn't want to hand them over to Tu Zhan. Lu Wei was in the storage ring, and the red devil was in the red devil sword. "Tu Zhan, I am a core disciple of the Sacred Institute of Dongwu College. Don't you think it's a little unkind for you to do this? Ning Yu said coldly. Unkind? Tu Zhan's lips curled up and he said coldly, in the face of absolute power, there is no such thing as unkind. I am stronger than you, so I can order you to do anything. You are stronger than me, so you can order me to do anything. This is how the world is. Now that you are in my hands, you will die if I want you to die, and you will live if I want you to live. As soon as he finished speaking, Tu Zhan rose from the ground. His body turned into an afterimage as he charged toward Ningyu. At this moment, Tu Zhan made up his mind to take the storage ring and the red flying sword. Rumble. However, before Tu Zhan could reach Ningyu, his expression changed drastically, and he immediately retreated. However, the speed at which he retreated was obviously too slow. He had only taken 2 steps back when a cold light pierced his chest. His body flew far away and slammed heavily into the wall of the secret chamber. At the same time, a loud bang sounded, and the door of the secret chamber was blasted open. Then 2 figures appeared. Looking at the 2 figures that suddenly appeared, Ning Yu was slightly stunned at first, then his heart sank to the bottom. Of the 2 figures in front of him, one was the peak 7th grade alchemist Sun Jiangwen, while the other had a powerful aura, and his cultivation base was at least at the Yin-Yang realm. Hall Master of the Alchemy Division. At this moment, Ning Yu thought of a person, the Hall Master of the Alchemy Division. A martial artist that Sun Jiangwen treated with such respect was most likely the Hall Master of the Alchemy Division. Compared to Ning Yu's shock, Tu Zhan was even more shocked. As a martial artist of the intermediate Yin-Yang realm, he could clearly feel that the man in front of him was at the peak of the advanced Yin-Yang realm. Combined with the conversation between Ning Yu and Sun Jiangwen in the dense forest, it was obvious that the man in front of him was the Hall Master of the Corpse Sect. After the Hall Master of the Alchemy Division appeared, he first looked at Tu Zhan, then at Ning Yu, and finally at the Dark Emperor. Heaven Swallowing Dog. I didn't expect to see another Heaven Swallowing Dog. The Hall Master of the Alchemy Division frowned and said, compared to the huge Heaven Swallowing Dog in the Treasure Pavilion, this is just a cub, and its cultivation base is only at the late primal core stage. Forget it. A late primal core Heaven Swallowing Dog is of no use to the Corpse Sect. I'll start with you first. The next moment, the Hall Master of the Alchemy Division appeared next to the Dark Emperor and waved his sleeve. Suddenly, the space around the Dark Emperor surged. Even if I die today, I will pluck a single hair off your body. The Dark Emperor was not a pushover. Although his cultivation base was worlds apart from the Hall Master of the Alchemy Division, he did not retreat. Instead, a pair of purple gold wings appeared on his back, and 2 rays of cold light shot out. Purple gold Heaven Swallowing Dog. Seeing the purple gold wings on the Dark Emperor's back, the Hall Master of the Alchemy Division was stunned at first. Then his figure flashed and easily dodged the Dark Emperor's attack. Chapter 360. Easy Encirclement Alchemist Temple Leader. The city protecting array has been opened. How did you get in? Taking a step forward, Tu Zhan said coldly, with your cultivation at the peak of late stage of Yin-Yang realm, it is impossible for you to break the city protecting array in a short time. It is indeed difficult for me to break the city protecting array with my own strength, the alchemist temple leader said with a smile. Could it be that the Corpsine sect has launched a large-scale attack on Ivory City? Tu Zhan's heart shuddered, and he was faintly worried. Alas, there are idiots every year, but there are especially many this year. The alchemist temple leader sighed and said, is it impossible to enter Ivory City without breaking the city protecting array? How is that possible? Tu Zhan was surprised. Idiot, the alchemist temple leader must have entered Ivory City before the city protecting array was opened. Ning Yu said disdainfully. You. Tu Zhan's face was a little ugly. Being ridiculed by Ning Yu, who was at the middle stage of the real martial realm. He had an impulse to kill Ningyu. But he knew that in front of the alchemist temple leader, it was not his turn to behave atrociously. Alchemist temple leader, how about we make a deal? Suddenly, Ningyu turned to the alchemist temple leader and said, "If you want to break into the ivory tower, I can help you." "Oh, tell me about it." The alchemist temple leader stared at Ningyu with interest and said, after the failure of refining the body explosion pill, he was ready to blow up the entrance of the ivory tower with Tu Zhan's self-explosion. Now that he heard Ningyu's words, he was very surprised. Even he couldn't blow up the ivory tower, so what could Ningyu do? "You should know that someone broke into the 8th floor of the ivory tower not long ago." Taking a deep breath, Ningyu said, "What if I told you that Danyu, who's widely rumored to have reached the 8th floor of the ivory tower, is me, and I told you that I didn't just reach the 8th floor of the ivory tower, but the 10th floor of the ivory tower? I wonder how you would feel." "You are Danyu, and he reached the 10th floor of the ivory tower." Before the alchemist temple master could express his shock, Tu Zhan, who was next to him, shouted, "The 10th floor of the ivory tower is not so easy to pass. Even the top martial artist on the innate realm battle list cannot pass the 10th floor of the ivory tower. Since the establishment of the ivory tower, only one martial artist has reached the 9th floor. No one made it to the 10th level." You could not be bothered to speak to Tu Zhan. He continued to speak to the alchemist hall master. "Since I was able to reach the 10th floor of the ivory tower, I naturally have a way to open the ivory tower's entrance." "Tell me about it," the alchemist hall master said in a deep voice. "If you let the Dark Emperor go, I'll help you break open the entrance to the ivory tower." Ningyu said, "In front of me, you have no other choice." Shrugging his shoulders, the alchemist hall master said, "To tell you the truth, none of the cultivators who tried to bargain with me have a good ending. You now have two choices. First, come with me to open the entrance to the ivory tower. Second, die here and I'll bring the purple gold sky devouring dog back to the corpse sect." "Alchemist hall master, don't threaten me." Ningyu already knew the corpse sect's overall plan. If they couldn't break open the ivory tower this time, they would suffer heavy losses. It could be said that the longer they waited, the more losses the corpse sect would suffer. Moreover, the pressure on the alchemist hall master's shoulders would also increase. After all, he had a lot of responsibility for the failure to refine the body explosion pill. Yang Kuan has already executed the imperial family's unique voice transmission technique. I believe that the experts of the imperial family will arrive within 6 hours. At that time, I'm afraid that all of you can only choose to retreat," Ningyu said indifferently. "You're threatening me." The alchemist hall master unleashed his aura and pressed down on Ningyu. "You're the first true martial realm cultivator who dares to threaten me." "Good, very good, very good." The alchemist hall master said coldly, "Although the body explosion pill has not been refined, we still have a backup plan." With that, the alchemist hall master raised his right hand and pointed at Tu Zhan. "The self-destruction of a yin-yang realm middle stage cultivator should be enough to blow up the ivory tower's entrance, right?" Swish! As soon as the alchemist hall master's voice fell, Tu Zhan's expression changed drastically. Could it be that the alchemist hall master wanted to use his self-destruction to blow up the ivory tower? Thinking of this, Tu Zhan said coldly, "Don't think I'm afraid of you. You alone are not enough to control my self-destruction." Buzz! At this moment, the surrounding space surged, and then 4 figures appeared. Looking at the 4 martial artists in front of him, Ningyu's heart trembled. He quickly guarded his mind and hid the 4 golden cores in the depths of his knowledge sea. Because these 4 martial artists were very strong, the lowest cultivation was at the yin-yang realm middle stage. There was even a martial artist in a purple robe who had the same cultivation as the alchemist hall master, the yin-yang realm late stage. "Alchemist hall master, why are you talking nonsense with him?" The purple-robed martial artist said directly, "Alchemist Hall Master, someone sent me a pillow when I was sleepy. I was just worried about how to open the ivory tower, and now someone sent me warmth," another martial artist said with a strange tone. "The people below are already hungry and thirsty. As long as we can break the ivory tower, they will start a massacre in Ivory City." A martial artist at the Inyang realm middle stage licked his lips and said, "With so much fresh meat, I believe we can refine a lot of corpse puppets." Alchemist Hall Master. Fortunately, this time the genius of the Ghost Talent Palace controlled the city, Lord of Ivory City, and forced him to tell us how to open and close the protective array. The Ghost Talent Palace Master had always been on bad terms with the Alchemist Hall Master. Naturally, he would not miss the opportunity to make sarcastic remarks about the Alchemist Hall Master. At the beginning of the plan, the Ghost Talent Palace Master had sent the second martial artist of the Ghost Talent Palace to Ivory City to investigate the situation first. This time, fortunately, the genius of the Ghost Talent Palace had appeared. Otherwise, they would still be outside Ivory City, thinking about how to break the protective array. "Although you've taken control of the Great City Barrier Array, we only have 6 hours." The Alchemist Hall Master's face turned cold and immediately rushed towards Tujan. With the speed of the old monster of the imperial family, he would arrive from the capital to Ivory City in 6 hours at most. At that time, it would be very difficult for them to break into the Ivory City. Therefore, they only had 6 hours. Damn it! The Ghost Talent Palace Master cursed, and his figure flashed as he joined the battle. Swish! 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 The other 3 corpse sect branch masters didn't dare to be negligent. They all joined in on the battle. Pucci! After all, Tujan was only a martial artist at the Inyang realm middle stage. Besieged by 5 martial artists who were stronger than him, he only lasted for a short while before he was defeated. Alchemist Hall Master, quickly send your soul force into his sea of consciousness, the Ghost Talent Palace Master shouted. As soon as the Ghost Talent Palace Master spoke, the Alchemist Hall Master sent his soul force into Tujan's sea of consciousness. If he wanted to control a martial artist to self-destruct, he must control his sea of consciousness and his consciousness. Go! Seeing that the Alchemist Hall Master sent his soul force into Tujan's sea of consciousness, the Ghost Talent Palace Master rose from the ground and rushed outside. Chapter 361. Gui Er Humph. We're going to break the ivory tower. Why are we bringing these 2 pieces of trash? The actions of the Alchemist Hall Master displeased the Ghost Genius Palace Master. He snorted coldly and said, "Don't tell me how these 2 pieces of trash can help. Do I need you to interfere in my affairs?" Being ridiculed in front of so many people, the Alchemist Hall Master's face turned ugly. "Stop arguing. The most important thing now is to break the ivory tower. Everything else can be put aside." The Martial Force Hall Master clearly didn't want to stay here any longer. He waved his hand and said, "This sky-devouring hound and this martialist will stay in this secret room for now." The Alchemy Master Hall's chief frowned slightly upon hearing the Martial Force Hall's words. He fell into deep thought. The black dog in front of him was a purple-gold sky-devouring dog, which was very rare. From the tone of the Martial Force Temple Master and the Ghost Talent Temple Master, it seemed like they did not know the true identity of the black dog. They only knew that the black dog was a sky-devouring hound. If they had known that the black dog was a purple-gold sky-devouring hound, they would definitely not have had such an attitude. Perhaps they would have already started fighting for it. Thinking of this, the Alchemist Hall Master said calmly, "Since the Martial Force Hall Master has put it this way, I will not insist. I will head to the Ivory Tower now." After saying this, the Hall Master of the Pill Refinement Hall led Tujan out of the chamber. The Ghost Talent Temple Master and the others followed closely behind him. As for the Martial Force Palace Master, He had set up a yuan qi barrier in front of the broken door to ensure that Ningyu would not escape. After doing all this, the martial hall master rose from the ground and rushed towards the ivory tower. After everyone left, only Ningyu and the Dark Emperor were left in the secret chamber. No, it should be a man and a dog. Whoosh! The Emperor of the Dark Emperor was an impatient person. After confirming that the alchemist hall master and the others had left, he went to the exit of the secret room and tried to break open the essence chi light barrier. Chi. However, no matter how the Dark Emperor attacked the light barrier, there were no cracks on it at all. It was as tough as 10,000-year-old iron. *CK, this is infuriating. Why is this yuan qi barrier so strong? The Dark Emperor sat on the ground and panted heavily. In order to defend against Tu Zhan and the alchemist hall master's attacks, he had consumed a lot of energy. Now that he was trying to break the yuan qi light barrier, his aura was extremely weak, and the yuan qi in his knowledge, so he was almost completely used up. Ningyu, what should we do now? Since he could not break through the essence chi light barrier, the Dark Emperor turned his gaze to Ningyu. After all, among the three of them, Ningyu had the most tricks. Taking a step forward, Ningyu arrived in front of the yuan qi light shield. He released his soul power and carefully observed the yuan qi light shield. After a while, Ningyu shook his head and said, "Unless one's yuan qi reaches the intermediate yin-yang stage, it'll be difficult to break this barrier." Whoosh! At that moment, Red Fiend flew out of the flying sword and appeared in the secret chamber. "Ningyu, can we use the old method?" Red Fiend frowned. Back then, there was also a soul protection barrier in front of Sun Jiangwen's secret chamber. At that time, Ningyu did not touch the soul protection barrier and entered the secret chamber. I'm afraid not. Ningyu had also thought of leaving the secret chamber underground. However, the phantom armor was already heavily damaged and could not burrow underground like before. This won't do, that won't do. Are we just going to wait for death here? The Dark Emperor's expression was cold as he said in a deep voice, "I don't believe that we can't break this yuan qi barrier today if the three of us work together." Who? Haha. You have to believe it, even if you don't believe it. Before the Dark Emperor finished speaking, a figure appeared in front of the secret chamber. The figure was roughly in his 20s. He wasn't very tall, and there was a hint of coldness between his brows. Standing in front of the secret chamber, he cupped his fists and stared at the Dark Emperor with interest. Then his gaze stopped on Ningyu. "The hall master told me that there's a martial artist younger than me with a soul force that has reached the middle stage of the 5th grade. I didn't believe it at first, but now that I see you, I believe it. Middle stage of the true martial realm. Middle stage of the 5th grade soul force. It's not easy to reach such a height at this age. By the way, do you want to leave the secret chamber?" Suddenly, the martial artist raised his brows and said, "I can let you leave the secret chamber, but you have to promise me one condition." "What condition?" Ningyu said calmly. "It's simple." Snapping his fingers, the martial artist said, "Submit to me and be my servant." "Tell me, how do you want me to submit to you?" Ningyu glared at the Dark Emperor, who was about to flare up, and said in a deep voice, "I'm in the secret chamber and you're outside. Even if I want to submit to you, there's no way." "Ha ha ha, that's easy." Laughing maniacally, the martial artist said, "You can swear on the heavenly oath. As long as you swear on the heavenly oath, I can help you break open the yuan qi barrier. The yuan qi barrier is not that easy to break. You actually have such a thing. Who the hell are you?" Before he could finish, Ningyu stared at the black ball in the martial artist's hand. From the black ball, Ningyu could feel an extremely violent yuan qi fluctuation. This violent yuan qi fluctuation was enough to break open the yuan qi barrier left by the martial temple master. "I'm the second-ranked martial artist of the Ghost Kai Palace, Gue Air said proudly. As the second-ranked genius of the Ghost Kai Palace, Gui Air not only had a middle stage of the primal core stage, but his soul force had also reached the late stage of the 5th grade. He and Gui Air were known as the two great geniuses of the Ghost Kai Palace, and it was said that if the two of them worked together, they could easily defeat the 3rd to 50th ranked martial artists of the Ghost Kai Palace. However, what Ningyu said next made Gui Air want to vomit blood. Gui Air. Frowning slightly, Ningyu said, "I've never heard of him." "It's okay if you've never heard of him. You'll hear of him soon." Gui Air clenched his fists and threw the black ball at the Yuan Qi barrier. Oh no! Dark Emperor, Red Devil, quickly enter the ring. Seeing this, Ningyu's heart skipped a beat, and he quickly retreated. Kaboom! In the process of his retreat, the black ball-shaped object had already collided with the Yuan Qi barrier. A loud rumble sounded, and a terrifying wave of energy rippled out in all directions. Damn it! Ningyu did not expect Gui Air to be so bold, and he had no choice but to wave the Red Devil and unleash a few sword rays. In Ningyu's opinion, this terrifying wave of energy was something that even a primal core martial artist would not dare to face head-on. Did Gui Air have something to rely on? As he unleashed his sword rays, Ningyu shifted his gaze to the door of the secret chamber. What he saw infuriated him quite a bit. The door to the secret chamber was empty, and Gui Air was long gone. Idiot! Did you think I would let you out so easily? Chapter 362. The City Lord's Mansion's strongest cultivator Chi-Chi. In the secret chamber, several sword beams collided with the shockwave, producing a sizzling sound. Unfortunately, even though Ningyu desperately waved the Red Devil sword to slash out sword beams, he was still unable to withstand the powerful shockwave produced by the explosion. Enter the storage ring! Gritting his teeth, Ningyu's figure flashed and directly entered the storage ring. Swish! Swish! Behind him, the Dark Emperor and the Red Devil did not dare to delay and rushed into the storage ring. Boom! As soon as Ningyu and the Dark Emperor entered the storage ring, the powerful shockwave came into close contact with the storage ring, directly smashing it into the wall of the secret chamber. Crack! Last time when Wenhong exploded, if it wasn't for the wisp of soul power that the Medicine Emperor left in the storage ring would have been destroyed. This time, Ningyu was not so lucky. The powerful shockwave of the explosion directly caused some cracks to appear on the storage ring. Pucci! The space within the storage ring was unstable. If it cracked, the people inside would not be any better. Ningyu and the Dark Emperor were fine. After all, they were powerful. Lu Wei's situation was very bad. At this moment, her aura was very weak, as if she was about to die. Damn it! Cursing, Ningyu immediately sat cross-legged and placed his hands on Lu Wei's back, transferring his own Yuan Qi to Lu Wei. Who? After about 15 minutes, Ningyu let out a long breath and slowly withdrew his hands from Lu Wei's back. Ningyu, how is your little girlfriend? Looking at the still unconscious Lu Wei, the Dark Emperor asked anxiously. It's not a big deal. As long as she doesn't suffer such a huge impact again, she should be able to wake up soon. Ningyu said solemnly, We have to take revenge for this. That Gui Air looks like he needs a beating. I'll go find him now. The Dark Emperor said coldly, He's just a mid-stage Yuan Dan turtle son. I can crush him with one hand. Whoosh! At the same time, in a luxurious room, Gui Air immediately stood up from his chair and muttered, Under that powerful shockwave, Ningyu should have died without even a corpse left. It's time to prepare to open the city barrier array. With that, Gui Air's figure flashed as he rushed towards Yang Kuen's room. Before long, Gui Air arrived at Yang Kuen's room. In the room, Yang Kuen was tied to a chair, and a middle-aged man stood beside him. Seeing Gui Air come in, Yang Kuen's face turned green with anger. He coldly said, Corpse sect bastards, aren't you afraid? Pa! Yang Kuan hadn't finished speaking when the middle-aged man beside him slapped him on the cheek and said coldly, "This is a peerless genius from the Ghost Talent Hall. How dare you speak to him like that?" "Pooh!" Yang Kuan spat on the ground and said, "Zhang Zhe, you colluded with the corpse sect. Aren't you afraid of losing face for the Zhang family? Ha ha ha." Zhang Zhe raised his head and laughed. He immediately said, "To tell you the truth, the Zhang family has already surrendered to the corpse sect. I'm only doing this because I'm a wise man." "You call yourself a wise man. At best, you're just a fool." Yang Kuan angrily said, "I've already used the royal family's unique sound transmission method. In less than 3 hours, the emperor will send experts over. When that time comes, it will be the time of your death. 3 hours is enough for us." Before Zhang Zhe could speak, Gui Er went straight to a chair and sat down. Gui Er waved his hand and said, "I already know how to open and close the city barrier array. I can open it at any time. Even if the capital's experts come, they will have to spend a lot of effort to enter Ivory City. By that time, we will have already broken the ivory tower and taken away the magic treasure that can slow down the passage of time." Hearing Gui Er's words, Yang Kuan was so angry that he wanted to rush out and fight with Gui Er. But he knew that with his late-stage true martial realm cultivation, even 10 of him would not be Gui Er's match. "You want to break the ivory tower? That's just a pipe dream." Yang Kuan rolled his eyes and said, "Since the ivory tower was built, many experts have tried to enter it, but without exception they all ended in failure. I advise you not to waste your energy." "Haha, in that case, I should thank you for your kindness." Gui Er smiled and said, "To tell you the truth, the ivory tower will definitely be broken today. Forget it, I don't want to talk nonsense with you. Anyway, I already know how to open and close the city barrier array, so there's no need to keep you alive." In the next moment, Gui Er raised his eyebrows and threw a cold light from his sleeve, shooting it at Yang Kuan. Seeing this, Zhang Zhe quickly moved away from Yang Kuan. The cold light from Gui Er's attack was so powerful that with his primal core cultivation, he naturally could not block it. Moreover, the person Gui Er wanted to kill was Yang Kuan, so there was no need for him to block it for Yang Kuan. Bang! However, just when Yang Kuan thought he was about to be killed, a figure suddenly appeared in front of him and blocked the fatal blow for him. "Old Ho!" Looking at the figure that suddenly appeared, Yang Kuan's face lit up. The martial artist who blocked the attack for him was none other than the strongest person in the Chancellor's mansion, Ho Qingchen. However, Yang Kuan was puzzled about one thing. Wasn't Ho Qingchen at the peak of the primal core stage? Why was his aura now at the early stage of the yin-yang stage? "Yang Kuan, I told you to train hard and not be obsessed with power, but you just wouldn't listen." Ho Qingchen glanced at Gui Er and Zhang Zhe and said in a low voice, "Even a mere primal core martial artist can push you to this point." Ho Qingchen, the strongest person in the Chancellor's mansion. A week ago, he had entered the forbidden area of the Chancellor's mansion to train in seclusion. Originally, he did not have any hope of advancing to the yin-yang stage. But who would have thought that he would advance to the early stage of the yin-yang stage? Now that he had successfully advanced, Ho Qingchen naturally had to leave the forbidden area. According to the rules of Ivory City, whenever a martial artist advanced to the yin-yang stage, there must be a big banquet and friends must be invited to congratulate him. The matter of sending the invitation naturally fell to Yang Kuan, so when Ho Qingchen left the forbidden area, the first person he looked for was Yang Kuan. Unexpectedly, when he entered the room, he saw Yang Kuan being attacked. "Huh, you are from the corpse sect." Originally, Ho Qingchen did not put Gui Er in his eyes, but when he felt the familiar aura around Gui Er, he could not help but raise his eyebrows and said, "The corpse sect is so arrogant to openly break into the Chancellor's mansion and kidnap the Chancellor." "Old fart, have you said enough?" Gui Er had long been unhappy with Ho Qingchen. Ho Ching-chin actually dared to save the person he wanted to kill? Wasn't this showing that he did not give him face? In the Ghost Talent Hall, all martial artists who did not give him face were cruelly killed. Gu-air twisted his neck and said, "Inyang stage martial artist, I can use you to practice. Try out a spell that I have been practicing recently." Then Gu-air rose from the ground and disappeared like a ghost. Chapter 363. Unscrupulous. Humph. A mid-primal core warrior dares to be so arrogant. Ho Ching-chin seemed to have anticipated Gu-air's sudden attack. He suddenly turned around, clenched his right hand into a fist, and collided with Gu-air's fist. Bang! When the two fists collided, Ho Ching-chin and Gu-air both took a few steps back. Ho Ching-chin took 3 steps back, while Gu-air took 2.5 steps back. Gu-air had gained the upper hand with this one blow. Old man, who told you that a mid-primal core warrior can't be arrogant? Gu-air raised an eyebrow and laughed. Today, a mid-primal core warrior will not only be arrogant, but he will also kill you. Gu-air's lips curled up as he waved his hands. Buzz! As Gu-air's hands moved, a strong suction force appeared, and suddenly all the yuan qi in the room flew towards him. Seeing so much yuan qi flying towards him, Gu-air waved his left sleeve, and suddenly a green gas rushed out and merged with the yuan qi in front of him. Exploding corpse palm. As Gu-air growled, a palm imbued with powerful yuan qi and dark green gas separated from his hand and blasted towards Ho Ching-chin. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The powerful palm flew through the air, creating a sizzling sound as it rubbed against the air. Moreover, as the palm neared Ho Ching-chin, there was even a low, muffled sound. Child's play. Faced with such a powerful palm, Ho Ching-chin's expression did not change, and he also sent out a palm. Boom! The 2 palms collided, but what Ho Ching-chin expected did not happen. Gu-air's palm turned into nothingness and dissipated into the air. What's going on? The sudden change made Ho Ching-chin feel a little confused. Although he had said that Gu-air's palm was child's play, he knew in his heart that Gu-air's palm was extremely powerful. If he had not advanced to the early Inyang stage, he would not have been confident that he could withstand this palm. Oh no! After a brief moment of confusion, Ho Ching-chin's expression changed, and he could not help but retreat. This was because he saw the space in front of him wriggle, and then a palm appeared. This palm print was exactly the same as the one that Gu-air had just displayed. There was not the slightest difference. Bang! 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 Even though he retreated at full speed, Ho Ching-chin still couldn't escape the palm print's pursuit. When he retreated to the edge of the room, the palm print caught up with him and ruthlessly struck his chest. Poochie! Ho Ching-chin felt a sweet taste in his throat when the palm imprint struck his chest, and he spurted a mouthful of blood. Yoopft! Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, Ho Ching-chin was just about to speak when he spat out another mouthful of blood, and his face turned slightly pale. Old man, don't think that you're arrogant just because you're an Inyang realm martial artist. Let me tell you, there's always someone better than you in this world. Gu-air shrugged and said, "Forget it. I won't waste my breath with you. I'll give you 2 choices now. First, you kill yourself or I kill you." Gu-air paused for a moment before continuing. "Second, submit to me and become my slave. You want me, a Inyang realm martial artist, to be your slave?" Ho Ching-chin was furious. "Old fart, it's your honor to be Master Gu-ai's slave." Zhang Zhe said coldly, "Perhaps you don't know who this is. To tell you the truth, he's the peerless genius of the Ghost Talent Palace. Gu-air." "Gu-air?" Ho Ching-chin hesitated as if he didn't hear it clearly. "That's right, son of a tortoise." "Tui, it's Gu-air, not son of a tortoise." "Zhang Zhe, leave first. Help me surround the city, Lord's mansion." Gue Er waved his hand and said, "Without my permission, no one can enter." "Yes, yes, I promise not to let a fly in." Zhang Zhe hurriedly left the room. After Zhang Zhe left, Gue Er said to Ho Qingqian, "What's your decision? Do you choose the first or the second?" "What if I don't choose either?" Ho Qingqian said in a deep voice. If you don't choose, you'll be challenging my authority." Gue Er smiled faintly and said, "If you don't choose, then I'll choose for you. The second one. Trying to control me? Why don't you look at yourself in the mirror?" Ho Qingqian said angrily, "Even if I self-destruct, I won't let you control me. In front of me, you don't even have the right to self-destruct." In the next moment, Gue Er rose from the ground and appeared in front of Ho Qingqian at an astonishing speed. Bang! Gue Er threw a punch, and it landed on Ho Qingqian's abdomen. The huge force from his abdomen made Ho Qingqian grimace in pain. He felt as if his internal organs were about to fall out. "Old Ho!" Yang Kuan shouted when he saw Ho Qingqian's miserable state. "Stop screaming. No one will come even if you scream your throat out." "Who?" However, before Gue Er could finish his words, his expression changed drastically. A figure was thrown into the room from the outside and hit a chair. Crack! The wooden chair naturally couldn't withstand the weight of the figure and was crushed into pieces. Zhang Zhe, Gue Er, was slightly stunned when he saw the cultivator on the ground. He then shifted his gaze to the entrance of the room. There was a familiar figure there. Ningyu. Gue Er's face darkened when he saw Ningyu standing in front of the door and scathed. Gue Er's expression was gloomy, but at the same time he was confused. One must know that the shockwave from the explosion was extremely powerful. Even he wasn't confident that he could withstand it. How did Ningyu do it? He actually withstood the aftermath of the explosion and wasn't injured at all. "Gue Er, how have you been?" Ningyu smiled as he slowly walked into the room. "I admire your courage." Suddenly, Gue Er calmed down. He stared at Ningyu and said, "I wouldn't have been able to do anything to you if you ran away just now. But you're a fool to appear here. Since that's the case, I'll deal with you first." "There's no need for me to deal with you," Ningyu shrugged and said, "Dark Emperor, Hong Mo, I'll leave Gue Er to you too, whoosh." The Dark Emperor had long been annoyed by Gue Er. Wasn't he just the second-ranked genius of the Gue Kai Palace? He wasn't even the first-ranked genius. How could he be so arrogant? Moreover, Gue Er was only at the middle stage of the primal core stage. He was at the late stage of the primal core stage. Killing Gue Er would be a piece of cake. "Hong Mo, leave Gue Er to me." "You don't have to do anything," the Dark Emperor said. "You've forgotten the pain now that your wound has healed." Ningyu was instantly enraged by the Dark Emperor's words. He kicked the Dark Emperor's butt and said angrily, "Against an enemy, one should be unscrupulous. Now that we have the advantage in numbers, we should be able to kill him 2-on-1. Fine, you and I, Hong Mo. Let's work together and get rid of Gue Er as soon as possible to prevent any unforeseen events." "Good. Young hero, well said. Against an enemy, one should be unscrupulous." Chapter 364. Death, Spirit, Qi, Cold, Light, Peerless Genius? He can also be considered a peerless genius. The Dark Emperor sneered. "In my eyes, there is only the difference between a dead person and a living person. There is no difference between geniuses. Even a dead dog dares to be so arrogant. Why don't you take a piss and look at yourself in the mirror?" Gue Er obviously didn't take Ningyu's threat seriously. He took a step back and said, "Today I'll show you what a peerless genius of the Ghost Talent Palace is like." Voila! As soon as he finished speaking, Gue Er's toes touched the ground and he charged straight at Ho Qingqian. From Gue Er's point of view, Ho Qingqian was the weakest among all the martial artists present besides Yang Kuan and Zhang Zhe. After all, Ho Ching-chin had already been heavily injured by him, and his current strength wasn't even a tenth of his peak. As the saying goes, if you want to defeat an enemy stronger than you must first attack the opponent's weakness. And Ho Ching-chin was the weakest link among the four of Ning Yu's group. Overturning Cloud Palm. Ho Ching-chin was indeed a yin-yang realm early-stage martial artist. Even though he had suffered a heavy injury, he was still able to react quickly. He threw out a backhand palm, colliding with Gue Air's palm print. Pa! The two palm prints collided and a muffled sound rang out. Ho Ching-chin only felt a sweetness in his throat, and he forcefully swallowed it back down. Dark Emperor attack! Ning, you did not dare to hesitate. He immediately charged out with the red demon sword in his hand and fiercely stabbed at Gue Air. Dark Emperor attack! Ha ha ha, it's finally time for me to show it. With a loud laugh, a pair of purple gold wings appeared on the Dark Emperor's back, and he shot toward Gue Air at an astonishing speed. The Dark Emperor had long advanced to the late primal core stage. Whether it was the density of the Yuan Qi in his body or his speed, he was slightly better than Gue Air. In fact, the Emperor of the Dark World was one step ahead of Ningyu to appear beside Gue Air. With a flap of his purple gold wings, a violent cold light shot out towards Gue Air's chest. Purple gold sky devouring hound. The moment the wings appeared on the Dark Emperor's back, Gue Air discovered the Dark Emperor's true identity. He was the king of the Sky-Devouring Dog clan, the purple gold Sky-Devouring Dog. Not good. In the next moment, Gue Air quickly retreated, even using all his strength. However, it was too late for Gue Air to retreat at this moment. The Dark Emperor's attack had already arrived before him and struck his chest. The intense pain from his chest caused Gue Air to grit his teeth and spit out a mouthful of blood. Xiao! At that moment, Ning Yu appeared behind Gue Air with the red demon's sword in his hand. Before Gue Air could react, the red demon's sword suddenly pierced through Gue Air's back, right into his heart. In that instant, time seemed to stand still. Puff! Ning Yu quickly pulled the red demon sword out of Gue Air's body. However, Gue Air did not fall as Ning Yu had expected. Instead, Gue Air slowly turned around. Gue Air grinned at Ning Yu and said, "You forced me to do this. I didn't want to use this move at first, but since you want to die, don't blame me." As he spoke, Gue Air's eyes gradually changed from black to green, and finally to blood red. His blood-red eyes, coupled with the powerful killing intent radiating from Gue Air's body, made him look like a god of death. Gue Air, your heart is not on the left side. Suddenly, Ning Yu thought of a possibility. Gue Air's heart was on the right side. No matter how powerful a martial artist was, if their heart had been pierced, they would not be able to look completely fine like Gue Air. Don't you think it's a little too late to find out now? The corners of Gue Air's mouth curled up as he opened his eyes. Suddenly, two cold rays of light shot out from his eyes, one towards Ningyu, the other towards the Dark Emperor. Chi-chi! The two cold rays of light were extremely fast, and they contained violent waves of Yuan Qi and even a bit of Dead Spirit Qi. Dead Spirit Qi was a gas that was even more corrosive than corpse Yin Qi. If a normal martial artist came into contact with it, they would rot to death if they did not deal with it in time. Red Devil, take Yang Kuin and this old man out of the room first and surround the room. Ning Yu's expression was solemn. He first instructed Red Devil in his mind, then said to the Dark Emperor, "Be careful, this is Dead Spirit Qi. Do not let it touch you." "Don't worry, this Dead Spirit Qi can't do anything to me." Although that was what the Dark Emperor said, his expression was extremely solemn. It was obvious that he had heard of the power of Dead Spirit Qi. Woof! At the critical moment, the Dark Emperor roared into the sky, and a wave of energy shot out, colliding with the cold rays of Dead Spirit Qi. Solitaire! As for Ningyu, he waved the red devil sword and slashed out several waves of sword energy, which collided with the cold rays of dead spirit chi. Pist pist. Gue Air's 2 cold rays of dead spirit chi were extremely powerful, and the moment the Dark Emperor's roar came into contact with them, they turned into nothingness and dissipated. Comparatively speaking, Solitaire lasted a little longer, but it only lasted for 3 seconds before it was defeated. Then the 2 cold rays of dead spirit chi turned around and floated above Gue Air's fingertips. Ha ha ha! You think I'm a sick cat if I don't show my power? Gue Air laughed as he gained the upper hand and said coldly, Now that you've fallen into my hands, there's only one ending for you, and that is death. No, you have to die. This dog can live. Suddenly, Gue Air changed the topic and said to Ningyu, These 2 cold rays of dead spirit chi were originally meant for me to fight for the title of the #1 genius of the Ghost Talent Hall. It's your honor to die by his hands. I didn't expect Gue Air to be so powerful. Ningyu's heart skipped a beat, and he had a bad feeling about this. He was in the middle stage of the true martial realm, and his strength was comparable to a peak Yuan Dan martial artist, and he could even compete with an early stage Yuan Dan martial artist. Gue Air was only a middle stage Yuan Dan martial artist, and Ningyu thought that he could easily defeat or even kill him, but now it seemed that he was wrong. Gue Air's strength had already reached the peak of the early stage Yin-Yang realm. Even if he joined forces with the Dark Emperor, it would be difficult for them to gain the upper hand. Ningyu knew that unless he could advance to the late stage of the true martial realm, it would be difficult to compete with Gue Air. It's not that Gue Air is strong, it's the 2 cold rays of dead spirit chi in his hands that are tricky to deal with. The Dark Emperor sent a sound transmission to Ningyu. These 2 cold beams of dead spirit chi are rather special. They are of good quality amongst the dead spirit chi. Unless we think of a way to disperse these 2 cold beams of dead spirit chi, it will be very difficult for us to win. Easier said than done. Taking a deep breath, Ningyu said in a deep voice, If we really can't do it, we can only abandon the quenching fire cauldron. The quenching fire cauldron was ranked 50th on the Earth list of cauldrons, and its material was very special. Ningyu had an idea in his mind, and that was to open the quenching fire cauldron and draw the 2 cold rays of dead spirit chi in. As long as he could force the 2 cold rays of dead spirit chi into the quenching fire cauldron, Ningyu would have a way to refine the cold rays of dead spirit chi. Chapter 365. Mysterious Storage Pouch. Gue Air, your 2 rays of dead spirit chi are only SOO. Since he had decided to use the cauldron, Ningyu regained his composure. He looked at Gue Air and said calmly, If the Dark Emperor and I can withstand their first attack, then we can withstand the second, third, and even countless times. Hee hee, aren't you afraid that the wind will cut your tongue? Gue Air grinned. Since you are so stubborn, then I will show you what I am capable of, so you know that there is always someone better than you out there. As soon as the word out there fell, Gue Air pushed his hands forward, and 2 rays of dead spirit chi shot out from his fingertips. As if they had eyes of their own, they charged straight at Ningyu and the Dark Emperor. Dark Emperor, quickly enter the storage ring. Ningyu knew that with the Dark Emperor's current strength, there was no way he could withstand the power of the rays of dead spirit chi. So he yelled, Leave these 2 rays of dead spirit chi to me. Understood. The Dark Emperor was a heaven-devouring hound, and as soon as he heard Ningyu's words, he dove into the storage ring in a flash. Oh, I didn't think your storage ring could store a person. Looks like this trip was worth it. Seeing the Dark Emperor enter the storage ring, Gue Air was stunned for a moment, but then a look of ecstasy appeared on his face. A spatial ring that could store a person would have to be at least at the king rank. In fact, it might even surpass the king rank and reach the monarch rank. Gue Air was a little excited just thinking about it. Gue Air, are you blind? Ning Yu completely ignored the 2 rays of dead spirit qi that were about to reach him. He raised an eyebrow. The one that just entered the storage ring was not a person. It was your Grandpa Emperor. You're seeking death. Gue Air snorted and then unleashed his late-stage, 5th-grade soul force, along with the 2 rays of dead spirit qi, toward Ningyu. This is the moment. Seeing this, Ningyu's face lit up with joy, and he hurriedly threw out the red demon sword to meet Gue Air's soul force. The red demon sword was also a devouring flying sword. If it could even devour Sun Jiangwen's peak 7th-grade soul force, then what about Gue Air's late 5th-grade soul force? Therefore, the moment the red demon sword came into contact with Gue Air's advanced 5th-grade soul force, an extremely powerful devouring force erupted from it. In an instant, 1/10 of Gue Air's soul force had been devoured. Devouring flying swords. The sudden change caused Gue Air's expression to change drastically. Without any time to think, he immediately retreated. However, Gue Air was still very excited as he retreated. It could be said that he was extremely excited. To be able to devour 1/10 of his soul force in an instant, it was enough to show how special this red flying sword was. Coupled with the energy fluctuations emanating from the red flying sword, Gue Air's initial judgment was that it was at least a king rank. A martial artist in the middle stage of the true martial realm not only had a king rank storage ring, but also a king rank flying sword. Wouldn't it be too wasteful to just kill him like this? In Gue Air's opinion, no matter what, he had to capture Ningyu and force him to reveal his secrets. Cold dead spirit qi, come back! With this thought in mind, Gue Air flipped his wrist to recall the 2 cold dead spirit qi. Suddenly, Gue Air saw something that terrified him. Not far away, Ningyu was dragging a huge alchemy furnace in his hand. The lid of the alchemy furnace was opened, and under Gue Air's horrified gaze, the 2 cold, dead spirit qi entered the alchemy furnace. Pa! Then, Ningyu suddenly closed the alchemy furnace. My cold, dead spirit qi? Ningyu's action caused Gue Air to be a little dumbfounded. With a thought, he tried to communicate with the cold, dead spirit qi. However, what happened next completely stupefied him. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't communicate with the cold, dead spirit qi. In other words, the cold, dead spirit qi was already under Ning Yu's control. Dark Emperor, come out. Ning Yu shook the alchemy furnace in his hand and shouted in a low voice. Whoosh! Hearing this, the Dark Emperor flew out from the storage ring. Ningyu, can this alchemy furnace control the cold, dead spirit qi? The Dark Emperor was still worried and asked in a low voice. Don't worry, although the alchemy furnace is not on the heaven ranking, its quality is not low. It can still trap the 2 cold, dead spirit qi for a short period of time. Ningyu said, Good. If that's the case, I can rest assured. Without the cold, dead spirit qi to worry about, the Dark Emperor was no longer worried. His figure flashed, and he quickly charged toward Gue Air. Solitaire! In order to get rid of Gue Air as soon as possible, Ningyu also joined the battle. Although Gue Air was the 2nd genius in the Corpse Sect's Ghost Talent Hall, his ranking was completely based on the cold, dead spirit qi. Without the cold, dead spirit qi, his strength would drop by at least half. In fact, there was no need for Ningyu to make a move. The Dark Emperor could get rid of Gue Air. But for safety's sake, Ningyu still held the red demon sword and attacked Gue Air with the Dark Emperor. When the cold, dead spirit qi was present, Gue Air could still hold the upper hand. But without the cold, dead spirit qi, he was exposed. Gue Air only lasted for 15 minutes against Ningyu and the Dark Emperor before he was completely defeated. Qi, Ning, you did not plan to leave Gue Air alive. After defeating Gue Air, he mercilessly stabbed the red demon sword into Gue Air's heart. This time, Ningyu used the red demon sword's devouring power to completely devour Gue Air's yuan qi and soul force. Whoosh! After a while, Ningyu let out a long breath and slowly withdrew the red demon sword from Guei Er's body. Ningyu, the higher-ups of the corpse sect, are all in Ivory City. If you kill me, you won't be able to escape. Pucci! With that, Guei Er suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood and his body fell backward. Bang! The sound of his body hitting the ground echoed in the room for a long time. After confirming that Guei Er was dead, Ningyu's tense nerves finally relaxed and he sat down on the chair behind him. As for the Dark Emperor, he lay on the ground and panted heavily. About 3 minutes later, Ningyu was the first to stand up from the ground. He went straight to Guei Er and reached out his hand to search Guei Er's body. After a while, Ningyu returned to the chair and sat down again. However, in his hand there was a storage bag and a token that represented his identity. Looking at the black token in his hand, Ningyu directly threw it into his storage ring. Then, Ningyu probed the storage bag with his soul force. Holy shit! As soon as his soul force entered the storage bag, Ningyu was stunned on the spot. It wasn't that there were too many Dharma treasures in the storage bag, but that the storage bag was empty. Shaking his head, Ningyu was about to throw the storage bag back into his storage ring. At this time, the Dark Emperor waved his paw and said weakly, "Give me the storage bag in your hand." "You want this storage bag?" Ningyu was surprised at first. Then he threw the storage bag to the Dark Emperor. "You can have as many storage bags as you want. Why care about this one?" "That's what you don't understand." Chapter 366. Many origin crystals. Could it be that there's something else in the storage bag? Seeing the Dark Emperor's actions, Ningyu was slightly taken aback and doubtful. He had checked the storage bag, but there was nothing inside. It was as clean as an airport. Could it be that the storage bag had changed after the Dark Emperor checked it? The Dark Emperor placed the storage bag in his hand and looked at it carefully. Then he made an action that shocked Ningyu. He opened his mouth wide and swallowed the storage bag into his stomach. Swallowing the storage bag, even if the Dark Emperor was the emperor of the Heaven-Swallowing Dog clan, he couldn't be so arrogant, right? That was a storage bag, there was nothing inside. The Dark Emperor swallowing it was a completely thankless task. Uft! Just as Ningyu was feeling shocked, the Dark Emperor opened his mouth again and spat out the storage bag. Red? Looking at the red storage bag that had fallen to the ground, Ningyu's mouth was slightly agape, and he was extremely shocked. If he remembered correctly, the storage bag was still gray at the beginning. Why did it turn red after passing through the Dark Emperor's mouth? "Ningyu, take a look at what's inside the storage bag." The Dark Emperor lazily laid on the ground and said. Ningyu hurriedly released his soul force and entered the storage bag. "Dark Emperor, you're not playing with me, are you? Why is there still nothing?" Ningyu delightedly probed the storage bag, but in the end he found nothing. If we had known this would happen, we would have left the city lord's mansion as soon as possible. Ningyu was extremely speechless and wished that he could kick the Dark Emperors but a few more times. Nothing at all? That doesn't make sense. Hearing Ningyu's words, the Dark Emperor was also a little confused. He immediately stood up from the ground and snatched the storage bag from Ningyu's hands. All right. I forgot that you're not very familiar with space." Slightly embarrassed, the Dark Emperor returned the storage bag to Ningyu and said, "Use your soul force to stimulate a point in the storage bag, and then you will see a shocking scene." "I hope that you won't disappoint me this time around," Ningyu said as he took the storage pouch from the Dark Emperor. F***CK. It would have been fine if he didn't look, but when he did, Ningyu was quite shocked. Crack! A crisp sound rang out, as if something in the storage bag had shattered. Then, Ningyu saw a shocking scene. The storage bag was filled with a large amount of yuan crystals, all of which were top-grade yuan crystals. It was to the extent that the pile at the very front was emitting a dazzling light. Obviously, It had already surpassed the limits of top-grade essence crystals and reached the quality of transcendent-grade essence crystals. Gulp. Ning Yu could not help swallowing a mouthful of saliva. After scanning it with his soul force, Ning Yu could basically confirm that there were a total of 10 million top-grade yuan crystals and 800,000 transcendent-grade yuan crystals. Originally, Ning Yu was only left with a few hundred top-grade yuan crystals. Now that there were so many of them, he was indeed shocked. What's so good about those yuan crystals? Look behind them and see what's there. Just then, the Dark Emperor's voice rang in Ning Yu's ears. Hearing this, Ning Yu's soul force went around the pile of top-grade yuan crystals and came behind them. Red spirit fruit. Looking at the two red fruits lying behind the crystals, Ning Yu's eyes widened and his face was filled with disbelief. The red fruit was nothing else but a 7th-grade fruit, red spirit fruit. The red spirit fruit was the same as the exquisite fruit, a 7th-grade fruit. The only difference was that the red spirit fruit was a 7th-grade fruit, while the exquisite fruit was not considered the best among the 7th-grade fruits. Secondly, the red spirit fruit contained violent energy that could allow a Yuan Dan stage martial artist to unconditionally advance a stage. The main function of the exquisite fruit was to expand the cyclone. Since the red spirit fruit could allow a Yuan Dan stage martial artist to unconditionally advance a stage, then wouldn't he who is in the middle stage of the true martial realm be able to directly advance to the pinnacle of the true martial realm if he consumed it? Thinking of this, Ning Yu revealed a fiery expression. But very quickly, Ning Yu said to the Dark Emperor, "The red spirit fruit is a 7th-grade elixir. Aren't you jealous?" Ning Yu knew the Dark Emperor best. With his personality, if there was no problem with the red spirit fruit, he would definitely be the first to swallow it. "Ning Yu, am I such a person in your heart?" The Dark Emperor had a pained look. Ning Yu came to the Dark Emperor's side and looked at him carefully for a minute. He then nodded and said solemnly, "You are not such a person in my heart. At least you have a conscience." The Dark Emperor said, "In my heart, you are scarier than such a person." Ning Yu's next words made the Dark Emperor have the urge to vomit blood. "Cut the crap. Hurry up and tell me what's wrong with the two red spirit fruits." Ning Yu waved his hand and said, "How heartbreaking." The Dark Emperor clutched his chest and revealed an extremely disappointed expression. Then he said, "There's nothing wrong with the red spirit fruit. The one with the problem is me." "You have a problem?" Ning Yu was stunned and asked, "Don't get angry if I tell you." The Dark Emperor's body gradually softened and he said, "Actually, there are more than 800,000 supreme grade yuan crystals in the storage bag. There are 1 million supreme grade yuan crystals." If that's the case, at this point, Ning Yu seemed to have thought of something. His eyes widened and he couldn't help but exclaim, "You swallowed the other 200,000 supreme grade yuan crystals." "What's there to be surprised about? I just swallowed 200,000 supreme grade yuan crystals. At most, I'll return them to you in the future." "All right." As he spoke, the Dark Emperor's eyes darkened and he fell to the ground. Dark Emperor. It wasn't that Ning Yu didn't want the Dark Emperor to swallow the supreme grade yuan crystals. It was just that 200,000 supreme grade yuan crystals were simply too much. Given the Dark Emperor's late-stage primal core cultivation, swallowing so many yuan crystals might very well cause him to explode and die. Damn it! Cursing under his breath, Ning Yu immediately came to the Dark Emperor's side and released his soul power to check on the Dark Emperor's body. 10 minutes later, Ning Yu retracted his soul power from the Dark Emperor's body. With a slightly serious expression, Ning Yu mumbled, "Whether or not I can refine so many supreme grade yuan crystals will depend on the Dark Emperor's own luck." Luckily, the Dark Emperor was a purple-gold sky devouring hound. Otherwise, he would have died a long time ago after swallowing 200,000 supreme grade yuan crystals. Even so, it was unknown whether or not the Dark Emperor could survive this ordeal. If he could, his cultivation level would naturally skyrocket, and he might even advance to the pinnacle of the primal core state, or even half a step into the yin-yang state. If he couldn't, there would only be one result, and that was to disappear from this world. Sigh, Dark Emperor, when are you going to change your habit of blindly devouring things? Ningyu heaved a faint sigh as he controlled the storage ring to gradually expand. Then, a pillar of light flew out and enveloped the Dark Emperor, sucking him into the storage ring. After doing all this, Ningyu was slightly relieved. The Dark Emperor had been through life and death with him for such a long time, so he naturally didn't want anything to happen to the Dark Emperor. However, the Dark Emperor's situation was clearly out of his control, so he could only calm himself down and say to Hong Mo. Chapter 367. Near the Ivory Tower Schwa. Hong Mo, who was outside the room, was already itching to enter. He felt guilty for letting Ningyu and the Dark Emperor fight with Gue Air inside. Hearing Ningyu's voice, Hong Mo's figure flashed and entered the room. Xiao! Xiao! Soon after, Yang Kuan and Ho Qingchen also entered the room. Ningyu, you killed Gue Air? Entering the room, Yang Kuan saw Gue Air lying lifelessly on the ground. He was slightly startled and immediately said in surprise, Gue Air is a peerless genius of the Ghost Kai Hall of the Corpse Sect. You actually… Yang Kuan! No one will think you are mute if you don't speak. Ho Qingchen coldly snorted and said, Ningyu's strength is not something you can figure out. Let me tell you, even if I was at my peak, I might not be his opponent. What? Yang Kuan was dumbfounded again. In his opinion, Ningyu was just a martial artist at the middle stage of the true martial realm. At best, he could only fight with a martial artist at the middle stage of the primal core realm. Ho Qingchen was the strongest martial artist in the city, Lord Mansion. He was at the early stage of the yin-yang realm. From what he said, it seemed like he was not Ningyu's opponent. Ningyu, first of all, thank you for killing Gue Air. Ho Qingchen smiled at Ningyu and said, Let me introduce myself. My name is Ho Qingchen. If you don't mind, you can call me Old Ho. Old Ho, Gue Air is from the Corpse Sect. If I didn't kill him, he would have killed me, Ningyu said with a shrug. In any case, you killed Gue Air and helped me a lot. I will remember this kindness. If there is anything I can use in the future, just say it. Ho Qingchen patted his chest and said, Right, Old Ho, quickly send someone to check around the ivory tower. Suddenly, Ningyu's complexion changed and said, hearing Ningyu's words, coupled with Ningyu's expression, Ho Qingchen said, Is this important? Of course it's important, Ningyu solemnly said. The higher-ups of the Corpse Sect kidnapped a martial artist at the middle stage of the yin-yang realm. They said they would use that martial artist's self-detonation to blow up the entrance of the ivory tower. You don't have to worry about this, not to mention the self-detonation of a middle yin-yang stage martial artist. Even a late yin-yang stage martial artist won't be able to break the entrance of the ivory tower, Ho Qingchen said confidently. Old Ho, I have to remind you. After pondering for a moment, Ningyu said, The power of a yin-yang realm middle-stage martial artist's self-destruction is not to be underestimated. Once the people of the Corpse Yin sect control a yin-yang realm middle-stage martial artist to self-destruct, the entire Ivory City will suffer. Ningyu was not a saint. The safety of the people in Ivory City had nothing to do with him. However, since he knew Yang Kuan's son, Yang, he felt that it was necessary to remind Ho Qingchen and Yang Kuan. Before Ho Qingchen could say anything, Yang Kuan's expression changed drastically. He was the city lord of Ivory City. He couldn't bear the consequences of a middle yin-yang realm middle-stage martial artist's self-destruction in Ivory City. I'll arrange someone to. Yang Kuin moved his feet and was about to leave the room. Rumble. However, before Yang Kuin could finish his words, his expression changed dramatically, because an earth-shattering explosion sounded. Not good. Feeling the power of the explosion, Yang Kuin finally understood that what Ningyu said was true. It was really a middle yin-yang realm, middle-stage martial artist self-destruction. No. Suddenly, Ho Qingchen released his perception. After a moment, he shook his head and said, the aftermath of the explosion didn't spread. It should be controlled by someone near the ivory tower. Huh. Ningyu raised his eyebrows and released his perception. After a while, he took a deep breath and said, that's right. I don't know who has the courage to resist the self-destruction of a middle yin-yang realm middle-stage martial artist. How about we go and have a look? Ho Qingchen hesitated. We can go there, but we can't just go there like this. We need to make some preparations. After thinking for a while, Ningyu said, wait for me. I'll contact someone. Then, Ningyu closed his eyes and began to communicate with Sun Jiangwen. Sun Jiangwen had been controlled by Ningyu, so Ho Qingchen and Yang Kuin didn't know the conversation between Ningyu and him. Sun Jiangwen, what's the situation at the ivory tower? Ningyu communicated with Sun Jiangwen through the soul power in Sun Jiangwen's sea of consciousness. We're trapped in the ivory square, and the situation is very critical. Hearing Ningyu's words, Sun Jiangwen was shocked and didn't dare to be negligent. Trapped in the ivory square, Ningyu was stunned at first. Then he said, tell me the details. The middle yin-yang realm middle-stage martial artist self-destruction didn't break the entrance of the ivory tower. Sun Jiangwen took a deep breath and said slowly, it turned out that Tu Zhan's self-destruction had only caused the door of the ivory tower to shake a little. Moreover, the door only shook for a while before it stabilized. Just when the Hall Master of Alchemy and the rest were about to leave, several rays of cold light shot out from the ivory tower and enveloped the entire ivory square. Therefore, the aftermath of Tu Zhan's self-destruction didn't spread in all directions, but only circulated inside the ivory square. Fortunately, the Hall Master of Alchemy and the rest had joined forces to set up a protective shield. Otherwise, Tu Zhan's self-destruction alone would have caused them to suffer heavy injuries. Even so, the Hall Master of Alchemy and the rest had expended too much energy and were currently recuperating with all their might. They are recuperating? After listening to Sun Jiangwen's story, Ningyu rolled his eyes and came up with a bold idea. Since the Hall Master of Alchemy and the rest had expended too much energy, why not take this opportunity to catch them all? Very soon, Ningyu dismissed this idea. At this moment, the Dark Emperor was digesting the supreme grade origin crystals in the storage ring. Ho Qingchen wasn't in his peak condition, and his own strength was limited. It was unrealistic to think that he could catch the Hall Master of Alchemy and the rest in one go. Sun Jiangwen, according to your estimation, when can you leave the ivory square? Ningyu asked in a deep voice. This. After hesitating for a moment, Sun Jiangwen said, if there is no accident, we can break the barrier around the ivory square in 6 hours and leave Ivory City. 6 hours, huh? Ningyu was lost in thought. If there were no accidents, the people from the capital would arrive in 6 hours. At that time, it would be difficult for the Hall Master of Alchemy and the rest to leave. After a moment, Ningyu gritted his teeth and said, Old Ho, let's go to the ivory square to have a look. Didn't you say that the higher-ups of the Corpsine sect are near the ivory tower? Won't we be discovered if we go there? Ho Qingchen asked. Don't worry, we will only watch from a distance and won't attract their attention. Ningyu said in a deep voice. Good. Since you said so, I will accompany you. Ho Qingchen said. There's no time to lose. Let's set off as soon as possible. Ningyu stepped on the ground and instantly left the city, Lord's mansion, and flew toward the ivory square. Behind him, the Red Devil Ho Qingchen and Yang Kuin also increased their speed and followed closely. Whoosh! 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 A moment later, the four of them landed in a corner outside the ivory square. Ningyu, find a way to get close to the ivory tower. I will give you a great fortune. Chapter 368. A Great Fortune Near the Ivory Tower? Ningyu was slightly startled. His mouth opened slightly in shock. Who are you? I haven't seen you for more than a month, and you can't even recognize my voice? If I hadn't helped you with what you did in the ivory space, you would have been captured by those old monsters for research. The mysterious voice, once again, sounded in Ningyu's ears. What I did in the ivory space. I know. You're the senior on the 10th floor of the ivory tower. Ningyu was a little stunned at first, but then his eyes widened in surprise. Back in the ivory space, Ningyu and the Red Devil had unscrupulously absorbed the vitality inside. If it weren't for the time limit, they would have absorbed all the vitality inside the ivory space. Even so, Ningyu and the others had absorbed more than half of the vitality inside the ivory space. At first, Ningyu thought that he had done it secretly, but now it seemed that he was a little naive. Senior, you want to give me a fortuitous encounter? Ningyu tried to play dumb and asked hesitantly. See, I forgot about the important matter. The mysterious voice continued. Do you want to be a hero? I don't want to, Ningyu replied without any hesitation. F***CK. This kid doesn't know what's good for him. There were 4 figures on the 10th floor of the ivory tower. If Ningyu was here, he would have found that he knew all 4 martial artists. One was the White Phantom he first met when he entered the ivory tower, the Golden Lion King, and the black-robed martial artist on the 9th floor of the ivory tower. The last one was the gray-robed old man who had just spoken to him on the 10th floor of the ivory tower. The Golden Lion King was furious after hearing Ningyu's words. This is a blessing that he has cultivated for 8 lifetimes, but he doesn't know how to cherish it. Golden Lion, don't say anything. The White Phantom, next to him, said, Ningyu is doing this wisely. Do you think it's so easy to be a hero? He's playing it safe. He's very smart. Self-preservation? Jean sure still couldn't understand and asked doubtfully. That's right, it is indeed self-preservation, the black-robed cultivator said. After not seeing him for a month, not only has Ningyu's cultivation improved, but his brain has also become much smarter. Compared to the White Shadow and the others, the gray-robed elder was much calmer. He frowned and said, The 3 of you are responsible for maintaining the barrier. No matter what, don't let the 5 palace masters of the corpse sect leave the ivory square. Understood. Hearing this, the White Shadow and the others did not stay any longer. Their figures flashed as they left the 10th floor of the ivory tower. At this moment, only the gray-robed old man was left on the 10th floor of the ivory tower. He's indeed the descendant of an old friend. I'll let him have this opportunity. Anyway, this ivory tower won't last much longer. Buzz! As soon as he finished speaking, the gray-clothed old man suddenly stretched out his palm, and he tore open a rift in the space before him before walking directly into it. As soon as the gray-robed elder stepped into the spatial crack, Ningyu felt the space around him tremble slightly. What's going on? As a Yin-Yang realm early-stage martial artist, Ho Qingchen was still relatively sensitive to space. The moment the surrounding space trembled, he noticed some clues. Whoosh! 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 However, just as Ho Qingchen wanted to probe with his perception, 3 cold lights shot out from the rift in a row. One was aimed at Ho Qingchen, one was aimed at Yang Kuan, and the last one was aimed at Hong Mo. Immediately afterward, Ho Qingchen and Yang Kuan felt their vision go black and they lost consciousness. As for Hong Mo, when the cold light was about to hit him, his body turned illusory and directly turned into an afterimage, drilling into the red demon's sword. Buzz! Moreover, Hong Mo controlled the red demon's sword and clashed head-on with the cold light. After the blow, The red demon's sword was pushed back several meters before it stabilized. Spirit body? Looking at the red flying sword floating in front of him, the gray-robed elder appeared from the void. His eyes widened as he said incredulously, "It's actually a spirit body, and it's the spirit body of a king-grade flying sword." Senior. In fact, when the cold light shot out, Ningyu had already determined that it was a martial artist from the 10th floor of Ivory City, because he was very familiar with this aura. Sure enough, the moment he saw the gray-robed elder, Ningyu's expression became dignified, and he asked, "What matter requires you to personally come out?" "Don't talk nonsense, I'll make it short." The gray-robed old man obviously didn't want to stay here for too long. He went straight to the point and said, "I came here because I have two things to tell you. First, with my current strength, I'm not strong enough to kill the 5 corpse sect branch masters in the Ivory Square. They will definitely escape. However, although they can escape, they will definitely be seriously injured and will only be able to display the strength of the true martial realm for a short period of time. I will leave a mark on them, and you can use the mark to find where they are staying." At this point, the gray-robed elder paused for a moment, and then continued, "You only have 3 days. In other words, after 3 days, their strength will recover and you must leave. Otherwise, the situation will be very bad for you." Ning Yu's heart skipped a beat, and he asked, "Senior, the good fortune you said you would give me, is it this?" Shaking his head, the gray-robed elder said, "Of course not. The good fortune I will give you is 100 times better than this. Show." Then the gray-robed elder waved his sleeve, and suddenly a small square pagoda was thrown towards Ningyu. "Pa!" Catching the square pagoda firmly, Ningyu said, "Senior, it is what the Corpsine sect is fighting for." The gray-robed elder said. Hearing this, Ningyu's eyes widened, and his mouth opened wide, revealing a look of disbelief. "Yes, it is a magic treasure that can slow down the passage of time, the Time Square Pagoda!" The gray-robed elder said in a deep voice, "Now I will leave it with you, for safekeeping. You must remember, before your cultivation reaches the yin-yang stage, do not use it, because it is not something you can control." "Senior, I will take good care of it, but where can I find you?" Ning Yu said solemnly. "You should also have a token to enter the Sky Tower. We will meet again at the Sky Tower." With that, the gray-robed elder's figure gradually became illusory, and in the end he completely disappeared. However, after the gray-robed elder disappeared, a voice sounded in Ning Yu's ear. "The Times Square Pagoda will guide you to the Corpsine Sect's branch hall master. What you need to do now is to leave the Ivory Square as soon as possible and evacuate as many cultivators as possible." Hearing the gray-robed elder's words, Ning Yu's heart trembled, and he hurriedly turned his head. He saw the ivory tower faintly shaking, and the barrier around the Ivory Square was constantly shrinking. At this speed, the barrier would shrink to a certain limit in at most 2 hours. Chapter 369. Search One's House, Io. After the gray-clothed old man vanished, Ho Ching-chin was the first to wake up. He rubbed his swollen head, looked left and right, and asked in confusion, "Ningyu, do you know what just happened?" "I don't know. My head is still hurting." In order not to cause trouble, Ningyu pretended to be unconscious the moment before Ho Ching-chin woke up. When Ho Ching-chin woke up, Ningyu also woke up. "You don't know what's going on either?" Ho Ching-chin frowned and said, "What about the man in red?" F***CK. At that moment, Yang Kuan woke up and couldn't help but curse. "Elder Ho, look. Ning, you didn't want to explain too much about this matter." He pointed his palm forward and said, "The barrier around Ivory Square is shrinking." "What?" Upon hearing Ningyu's words, Ho Ching-chin's expression changed greatly. He couldn't be bothered to ask why he had fainted, and he exclaimed, "Yang Kuan, quickly evacuate the residents around Ivory Square. The faster the better." Ho Qingchen was indeed worthy of being an initial stage yin-yang realm martial artist. He saw through the problem at first glance. Although it would take 2 hours for the barrier to reach the Corpse Insect's branch hall master, it would be too late to evacuate the residents by then. Elder Ho Wai, unlike Ho Qingchen, Yang Kuan did not understand. Idiot, if I'm not wrong, when the barrier reaches them, the battle will break out. Ho Qingchen kicked Yang Kuan and said angrily, I'll give you 2 hours. After 2 hours, I don't want to see any residents within a radius of a few miles with Ivory Plaza as the center. At this point, Yang Kuan finally understood. Not daring to delay, he immediately rose from the ground and rushed toward the city, Lord's mansion. With his strength alone, it was impossible for him to complete the task given to him by Ho Qingchen. He needed to go to the city, Lord's mansion, to call for help and a large number of people to help him. Ningyu, what are we doing now? Not long after Yang Kuan left, Ho Qingchen asked. Search the house. With these 2 words, Ningyu rose from the ground. His body turned into an afterimage as he flew straight into the distance. Search the house? Ho Qingchen was slightly stunned, but he didn't hesitate and still followed closely behind Ningyu. Whoosh! Whoosh! On the streets of Ivory City, 2 figures, one in front and one behind, moved extremely fast and disappeared from everyone's sight in an instant. Did anyone pass through here? Someone did pass through here, but I didn't see it clearly. You are a martial artist at the peak of the true martial realm, but even you couldn't see it clearly. Doesn't that mean that martial artist just now is at the Yuandan realm? It's hard to say. If I'm not wrong, it should be a primal core pinnacle martial artist. Peak primal core stage. When the surrounding martial artists heard this, there was an uproar. Ivory City might be a major city in the Great Xia Kingdom, but martial artists who were at the peak stage of the origin core realm rarely appeared on the streets. Could it be that something big was going to happen in Ivory City this time, that there was a peak primal core practitioner roaming the streets? So fast! Ho Qingchen didn't know that everyone was shocked. If he knew, he would just laugh it off, because he was even more shocked than everyone else. With his early yin-yang stage cultivation, he could only follow behind Ningyu and not catch up with Ningyu. If he was this fast when he was at the middle stage of the true martial realm, what would he be like when he advanced to the yin-yang stage? He is indeed a core disciple of the sacred college of Danwu College. This level of talent is really enviable. Ho Qingchen shook his head to dispel the thoughts in his mind and sped up. Not long after, they stopped in front of a luxurious building. Looking at the luxurious building in front of him, Ho Qingchen was stunned at first. Ningyu, this is the Zhang family. Before Ho Qingchen could finish a sentence, Ningyu waved his hand and interrupted him. The Zhang family is here. Have you forgotten Zhang Zhe, who is by Gui Er's side? Zhang Zhe? Hearing Ningyu's words, Ho Qingchen was stunned, and then said coldly, If you didn't mention it, I would have forgotten. He has turned to Gui Er. Let's go in and have a look. Maybe there will be a surprise. Twisting his neck, Ningyu took the lead and walked toward the front door of the Zhang family. What are you doing? However, when Ningyu arrived at the door of the Zhang family, he was stopped by 2 servants who were guarding the door. One of the servants, who was at the middle stage of the true martial realm, was very arrogant and said proudly, This is the Zhang family. If you know what's good for you, get out of here, or else you will have to bear the consequences. He Wang Er, don't talk nonsense with him. After today, the whole Ivory City will belong to the Zhang family. The other servant, who was at the middle stage of the true martial realm, laughed and swaggered toward Ningyu. Looking at the servant approaching him, Ningyu simply stopped, cupped his fists, and looked at him with interest. Oh, you are very arrogant, boy. Today, I will let you taste. Ouch. While speaking, the servant clenched his right fist and directly punched toward Ningyu. Gotcha! However, what he expected did not happen. Instead, Ningyu grabbed his wrist and with a little force, directly broke his wrist. Ah, The intense pain from his wrist caused the manservant to let out a blood-curdling screech, like a pig being slaughtered. Zhao Hu. Seeing Zhao Hu's miserable condition, Wang Er's face suddenly became gloomy, and he said angrily, "Boy, you injured Zhao Hu, leave one hand." Noisy. The reason why Ningyu did not rush into the Zhang family was because he sensed two auras not weaker than Ho Qingchen. The owner of the aura was at least at the early stage of the Yin-Yang realm, and it was even possible that he had reached the peak of the early stage of the Yin-Yang realm. Ho Qingchen had just advanced to the early stage of the Yin-Yang realm, and he was seriously injured. His current strength was only between the peak of the primal core realm and half a step to the Yin-Yang realm. This kind of strength was very disadvantageous for breaking into the Zhang family. Poof! Since he was already here, Ningyu did not intend to go back. He flicked his sleeves, and suddenly a cold light swept out. Under Wang Er's horrified gaze, it continued to expand and finally stabbed into Wang Er's chest. Bang! Compared to Zhao Hu, Wang Er was much more unlucky because he was killed by Ningyu in a single blow and died on the spot. Zhao Hu only lost his right hand. Who dares to be so arrogant in the Zhang family? At this moment, a loud shout sounded from the courtyard of the Zhang family. The voice was extremely powerful, and there was a little essence qi fluctuation in it, blasting toward Ningyu. Humph! Feeling this super strong essence qi fluctuation, Ho Qingchen snorted coldly, took a step forward, and blocked in front of Ningyu. Then the aura of his whole body emerged, helping Ningyu to resist this super strong essence qi wave. I was wondering who it was. So it's the city lord's mansion's monkey. After the blow, an old man in brown flew out from the courtyard of the Zhang family. The old man was about 70 years old, and his hair was white. Chapter 370. Zhang Bin, what? The strongest person in the city, Lord's mansion, has advanced to the Yin-Yang realm? It should be true. The Zhang family's old ancestor has advanced to the Yin-Yang realm a long time ago. His words can't be false. There's another Yin-Yang realm martial artist in Ivory City. This is a big deal for the city lord's mansion. They need to invite experts from all over. Invite experts from all over? I'm afraid Ho Qingchen won't live past today. Won't live past today? That's impossible. Who can kill Ho Qingchen, who is in the Yin-Yang realm? The Zhang family's old ancestor, Zhang Bin. In this world, there had always been more people watching the show. When Ningyu killed Wang Er, many martial artists surrounded him. Their purpose was simple. They wanted to watch the show. Zhang Bin, you despicable bastard. If it weren't for you, I would have advanced to the Yin-Yang realm a year ago. Ho Qingchen's face instantly darkened when he heard the words of the Zhang clan's ancestor, Zhang Bin, and he said in a cold voice, "Let me ask you, were Zhang Zhe's actions instructed by you?" Zhang Bin's heart skipped a beat when he heard that. Zhang Zhe had followed Gue Er to the city, Lord's mansion, under his instruction. Although Ho Qingchen wasn't in his peak condition, he was still standing here. Could it be that Gue Er failed and Zhang Zhe was killed? Thinking of this, Zhang Bin's face became completely gloomy. He said coldly, "Ho Qingchen, I don't know what you're talking about. Today you trespassed into the Zhang family. I must teach you a lesson." Swoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, Zhang Bin rose from the ground. His body turned into an afterimage and appeared beside Ho Qingchen in a flash. Immediately after, his fist brought along an extremely violent origin chi and fiercely smashed towards Ho Qingchen's head. This punch was so powerful that if Ho Qingchen was unlucky enough to be hit, he would be crippled even if he didn't die. Damn it! At the critical moment, Ho Qingchen cursed inwardly. The essence chi in his sea of consciousness wrapped around his wrist, and with a backhand punch, it collided with Zhang Bin's fist. Crack! A crisp sound rang in the area when the two fists collided. Ho Ching-chin only felt a sweetness in his throat. He couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of fresh blood. His originally weak aura became even weaker. Zhangbin, you've actually reached the peak of early Yin-Yang realm. Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, Ho Ching-chin said in a low voice, you were only at the initial stage of Yin-Yang realm a month ago. It's basically impossible for you to advance to the pinnacle of the initial stage of Yin-Yang realm in a month. Haha, Ho Ching-chin, who said that it's impossible for me to advance to the peak of early Yin-Yang realm in a month. With a smile, Zhangbin said, let's not talk about Yin-Yang initial stage. Let me put it this way. I'll be able to advance to Yin-Yang middle stage in a week. Hua! Zhangbin's words caused an uproar in the surroundings. Middle Yin-Yang realm? In Ivory City, an early-stage Yin-Yang realm martial artist was already very powerful. They had never seen a middle-stage Yin-Yang realm martial artist. Humph! Aren't you afraid of biting your tongue? Before Ho Ching-chan could speak, Ningyu snorted. You have a hidden illness in your body. If you don't get rid of it, you can forget about advancing to the middle stage of Yin-Yang realm in your lifetime. Hidden illness? What kind of illness does Zhangbin have? I don't know. Who is this young man? How did he know that Zhangbin has a hidden illness? He's Ningyu, the core disciple of the Sacred Institute of Danwu College. Ivory City was a big city with a relatively fast population flow. It was not surprising that someone knew Ningyu. The core disciple of Danwu College. I heard that the Zhang family also has a genius who entered Danwu College. I think his name is Zhang Tianwen. Your information is too outdated. Zhang Tianwen is from the Zhang family in the capital. He has nothing to do with the Zhang family in Ivory City. I see. The surrounding martial artist discussion made Zhangbin's face a little ugly. As a dignified, early-stage Yin-Yang realm martial artist, he was actually said by Ningyu to have a hidden illness? This was really intolerable. Uncle couldn't stand it either. Even his uncle couldn't stand it. Ningyu, don't think that just because you are a core disciple of the Sacred Institute of Danwu College, I dare not do anything to you. Zhangbin had never put Ningyu in his eyes, from the first time he saw Ningyu until now. Every full moon night, you will feel a pain in your abdomen. Ignoring Zhangbin's threat, Ningyu continued, it used to be once a month. But since last month, the pain in your abdomen has become more and more serious, even once a week. Recently, the pain in your abdomen will occur once a day. You, a mouthful of nonsense. Zhangbin's eyes flickered as he said, coldly, Hee, I know how to remove your hidden illness. Ningyu laughed. Humph, a mere middle-stage, true martial realm martial artist wants to judge my illness? Zhangbin said coldly. Why don't you take a piss and look at yourself in the mirror? Forget it. Today, you broke into the Zhang family first. Even if I kill you, Danwu College will not say anything. As soon as his voice fell, Zhangbin instantly rushed out. Since he had advanced to the early stage Yin-Yang realm, Zhangbin's speed was very fast. He was so fast that no one could see his figure except for Ningyu and Ho Ching-chin. Ho Ching-chin could see Zhangbin's figure because he was also a Yin-Yang realm martial artist. Naturally, he could see it, but it was a little blurry. And Ningyu could see it because of the strength of his 5th grade middle stage soul power. Solitaire. Facing Zhangbin, who was constantly approaching him, Ningyu's pupils shrank and his body quickly retreated. In the process of retreating, Ningyu did not know when the red demon's sword appeared in his hand, and he quickly waved it. Swish! 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 With a low shout from Ningyu's mouth, 3 consecutive sword waves appeared in the air and floated in front of Ningyu. As soon as the solitaire was formed, Zhangbin arrived at Ningyu's side. The next moment, under the exclamation of the crowd, Zhangbin's fist smashed toward Ningyu's head. To deal with Ningyu, Zhangbin did not use his full strength. He only used 50% of his strength. In his opinion, Ning Yu was only a true martial realm middle stage martial artist. He had already thought highly of Ning Yu by making a move. Even if Ning Yu died in his hands, he could still be proud of it. Just a few sword waves. The corner of Zhang Bin's mouth rose, and his fist collided with the solitaire in front of Ning Yu. Chi, chi, chi. 3 consecutive crisp sounds resounded, and then Zhang Bin's fist arrived in front of Ning Yu's head. It was only 10 centimeters away from Ning Yu's forehead. Red Demon, quickly attack. At the critical moment, Ning Yu shouted in a low voice. Hearing Ning Yu's words, Zhang Bin was a little stunned. The fist in his hand stopped for a second. However, it was this second that allowed Ning Yu to withdraw from Zhang Bin's attack range. Swish! Chapter 371. Chapter 371. Blood feud, damn it! The sudden change caused Zhang Bin's expression to change drastically. With no time to think, he immediately stomped on the ground and quickly retreated. However, he had clearly underestimated the Red Demon's sword speed. He had just retreated 2 to 3 meters when the Red Demon sword appeared in front of him. At the critical moment, Zhang Bin's Yuan Qi burst out and turned into a Yuan Qi light sword. It collided with the Red Demon's sword. Qi. The moment the two collided, Zhang Bin's Yuan Qi light sword turned into nothingness and dissipated between heaven and earth. Although the Yuan Qi light sword could not withstand the Red Demon sword's powerful attack, it bought Zhang Bin time to increase the distance between him and the Red Demon sword. Humph! Ning Yu, this flying sword is mine. Zhang Bin snorted and pointed his right hand forward. Crack, crack! A few cracking sounds rang out, and then cracks appeared in the void around the Red Demon sword. Space manipulation. Ning Yu's expression turned cold, and he growled, Red Demon, come back! Swoosh! The Red Demon was not a fool. Zhang Bin, who was at the peak of the early stage yin-yang realm, could already control space slightly. It was not wise to fight him head-on. Therefore, the Red Demon controlled the Red Demon's sword and instantly appeared beside Ning Yu. Crack! As soon as the Red Demon arrived at Ning Yu's side, a small whirlpool suddenly appeared in the space where he had been, and the surrounding space constantly collapsed. Looking at the slightly collapsed space, the Red Demon took a deep breath. If he had not listened to Ning Yu and retreated, he would have likely fallen into space. However, the Red Demon was a little puzzled. Zhang Bin was only at the peak of the early stage yin-yang realm. Why was he so adept at space manipulation? Even a late-stage yin-yang realm martial artist might not be as adept at space manipulation as he was. Could it be that Zhang Bin was pretending to be weak and his true cultivation was far beyond the early stage yin-yang realm? Zhang Bin is indeed at the early stage yin-yang realm. Ning Yu said in a low voice, It's just that he has a treasure that can control space. Its rank should be... At this point, Ning Yu paused and then said with a solemn expression, It has reached the king rank. A king-grade magic treasure? Hearing this, Hong Mo's heart skipped a beat. His face was filled with disbelief. A king-rank magic treasure that could control space was extremely rare, and it was even rarer than a devour magic treasure. Currently, Ning Yu had a broken soul sword that specialized in devouring soul energy. He also had a Red Demon sword that could devour both soul energy and vitality. Even so, he didn't have a magic treasure that could control space. Ning Yu, I admit that you are strong, even stronger than the average primal core stage warrior. At this moment, Zhang Bin shouted in a low voice, But your cultivation is just at the middle stage of the true martial realm. I can crush you as easily as crushing an ant. Zhang Bin, who doesn't know how to brag. Ning Yu smiled faintly and said, If what you said is true, then why am I still standing here unscathed? Why didn't that strike kill me just now? Don't tell me that you only used 50%, no, only 10% of your strength. You, Hearing Ningyu's words, Zhangbin was so angry that his chest was moving up and down, and his face was livid. As the ancestor of the Zhang family, no one dared to speak to him like this except for the higher-ups of the Corpse sect. Moreover, it was in front of so many people. Glancing at the door of the Zhang family's house, Ningyu shrugged and said, Zhangbin, I advise you to call out the hidden yin-yang stage warrior of the Zhang family. Otherwise, you won't even know how you died. What? There is another yin-yang stage warrior in the Zhang family? Impossible. The Zhang family only has one yin-yang stage warrior, and that is the ancestor of the Zhang family, Zhangbin. That's right, the second strongest warrior of the Zhang family is only at the late stage of the primal core stage, not even at the peak of the primal core stage. Could it be that Ningyu is lying? The Zhang family was the tyrant of Ivory City. Relying on the strength of the family, they often bullied other families. Of course, the families that were bullied by the Zhang family did not dare to say anything. Now that they saw someone killing in front of the Zhang family's door, they naturally wanted to watch. Therefore, more and more warriors gathered in front of the Zhang family's door, and in the end, the Zhang family was completely surrounded. Little friend Ningyu is right. The Zhang family does have another yin-yang stage warrior. While the crowd was talking, an old man slowly walked out of the crowd and stood in front of Ningyu. The old man pointed at Zhangbin and scolded. The other yin-yang stage warrior of the Zhang family is not from the Zhang family. The Sun family's grand elder, Sun Xing. Sun Xing? What is he doing here? You don't even know this. Some time ago, the Sun family's ancestor was killed, and various signs indicate that the killer of the Sun family's ancestor was Zhang. Puchi. Before the warrior finished speaking, he spat out a mouthful of blood, and his eyes were wide open as his body fell straight backward. With a plop, the warrior died on the spot. This is what happens to people who spread rumors. After killing the warrior with one blow, Zhangbin said coldly, the death of the Sun family's ancestor has nothing to do with the Zhang family. I will say it here. Anyone who maliciously slandered the Zhang family will end up the same as him. Voila! Zhangbin's strong performance caused an uproar at the scene. Everyone stared blankly at the martial artist who was killed by Zhangbin in one move. They were somewhat dumbfounded. Isn't Zhangbin too strong? The other party hasn't finished speaking yet. How can he know that the other party is referring to the Zhang family? After a short silence, everyone turned their eyes to the Sun family's grand elder, Sun Xing. They wanted to see if Sun Xing would back down in the face of difficulties or continue speaking. Zhangbin, I'm not scared. At first, Sun Xing's eyes flickered, but in the end he gritted his teeth and said, If you have the guts, let the Zhang family's yin-yang stage warrior come out. I will confront him face to face. Before coming, Sun Xing had already met Yang Kuan. Moreover, he learned from Yang Kuan that the Sun family's patriarch, Sun Xingjian, was brutally killed by Yin Corp's sect martial artist. First, the family's ancestor was killed, and then the patriarch was killed. Sun Xing definitely couldn't bear it. What if he couldn't bear it? CK him. What the martial artist said just now was right. All the signs indicated that the Zhang family and the Yin Corp's sect had joined forces, and the one who killed the Sun family's ancestor was a yin-yang stage martial artist in the Zhang family's courtyard. Confront him face to face? You think you are qualified? Zhangbin sneered. Zhangbin, I know what you are worried about. Ningyu took a step forward and said with a slight fluctuation of yuan qi, the yin-yang stage martial artist in the Zhang family's courtyard is a member of the Yin Corp's sect. Yin Corp's sect. The Zhang family colluded with the Yin Corp's sect? That's too scary. It's hard to say. The Zhang family has risen very fast recently, and the younger generation of the family has already dominated Ivory City. Maybe what Ningyu said is right. Sure. You still dare to say it? Aren't you afraid that Zhangbin will kill you? Humph. Why wouldn't I dare to say it? I am a member of the Sun family, and now the Sun family and the Zhang family are irreconcilable. Swish, 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 swish. Just as everyone was discussing, suddenly, countless figures flew from afar and landed steadily in front of the Zhang family's gate. Seeing the sudden appearance of these figures, Zhang Bin's complexion became very ugly. This was because the lowest cultivation level of these martial artists was at the early primal core stage, and there were even 2 or 3 at the peak primal core stage. Chapter 372. Breaking into the Zhang family. What are they doing here? Could it be that Sun Clan's great elder son Xing called them over? It's hard to say. I've seen a few of them before. They are the elders of the second-rate clans in Ivory City, and their cultivation is around the middle, primal core stage. The ancestor of a second-rate family? Take a closer look. The 3 old men in the lead are the patriarchs of the Zhang and Sun families in Ivory City. Their cultivation levels are at the peak of the primal core stage. What? Even they are here? Is Ivory City going to be cleansed? After a brief silence, the crowd burst into exclamations. Many cultivators stared at the figures that had suddenly appeared, their faces filled with shock. Over the years, the strong performance of the Zhang family had left a deep impression in their hearts. Now, a large number of warriors had joined forces to oppose the Zhang family. It had to be said that this was a great shock to them. All right, very good, very good. At this time, Zhang Bin calmed down. He waved his hand and said in a deep voice, "Since you're so naive, I'll show you the true strength of the Zhang family today." Swish, 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 swish. Just as Zhang Bin's voice faded, several figures flew out from the Zhang clan's courtyard and appeared in front of the Zhang clan's gate in the blink of an eye. Seeing the sudden appearance of these cultivators, the crowd once again exclaimed in surprise, because these martial artists were not weak. They could be described as terrifying. 2 peak-stage primal core, 4 late-stage primal core, 8 mid-stage primal core, and 10 early-stage primal core. Just the Zhang family alone had 24 primal core adepts, which was even more than the other clans combined. Am I seeing things? Seeing the formidable strength of the Zhang clan, a true martial realm primary stage martial artist rubbed his eyes and said in a daze, "Are you seeing things? These warriors are all from the Zhang clan." Another martial artist in the middle stage of the true martial realm was also very shocked, but he did not lose his mind and said in a deep voice, "In addition to the 24 origin core stage martial artists, the Zhang family still has no less than 50 true martial realm martial artists." 50. Hearing this, everyone shot their gazes towards the Zhang clan's courtyard. If one didn't take a look, one wouldn't know, but the moment one did, he was shocked. 40 to 50 martial artists lined up neatly in the courtyard of the Zhang family. Old ho, what should we do now? The terrifying strength of the Zhang family had clearly exceeded Sun Xing's expectations. He got closer to Ho Qingqian and whispered, "The power in the middle can contend with the Zhang family, but Zhang Bin and the other Yinyang realm martial artists are not easy to deal with." In fact, Ho Qingqian had already realized the severity of the problem when the Zhang family's experts appeared. Although Sun Xing and the patriarchs of the other families weren't a match for the Yinyang realm cultivators, they could at least stall one of them. As for the other Yinyang martial artist, he and Ning Yu would work together to deal with him. The sudden emergence of so many experts from the Zhang family had completely disrupted their plans. He couldn't help but look at Ning Yu. "Old ho, find a way to stall Zhang Bin. I'm going to enter the Zhang family and force that Yinyang realm martial artist out myself." Ning Yu's expression was solemn. He tapped the ground with the tip of his foot and dashed forward. Xiao! Ning Yu's speed was very fast, so fast that besides Ho Qingqian and Zhang Bin, no one else could react. "Where are you going?" Ho Qingqian was indeed a peak early Yinyang realm martial artist. The moment Ning Yu dashed forward, he gathered all the Yuan Qi in his body to his wrist and punched at Ning Yu's chest. What is Zhangbin doing? Why is he punching the air? Could he have lost his mind? How is that possible? Zhangbin is a yin-yang realm martial artist. He shouldn't have lost his mind. No. Look at Ningyu. Following this exclamation, everyone was surprised to find that Ningyu's figure was gradually becoming illusory. Very quickly, Ningyu appeared in front of Zhangbin. An afterimage. It's an afterimage. Ningyu's speed is so fast. He's just a middle-stage martial artist. Even an early primal core stage martial artist like me couldn't see any clues. Early primal core stage? I, a middle primal core stage martial artist, don't even know when Ningyu disappeared. At first, everyone was just exclaiming, but in the end they were all numb. This was because in the face of Zhangbin's powerful attack, Ningyu did not retreat. Instead, a violent wave of yuan qi appeared on his palm, and a backhand punch collided with Zhangbin's fist. Bang! The two collided and a low sound rang out. Immediately, Ningyu and Zhangbin both took a few steps back. Zhangbin took 3 steps back, and as for Ningyu, he took more than 10 steps back before he could stabilize his body. With this blow, it was clear who was stronger. Zhangbin, thank you for lending me a hand. Ningyu first smiled at Zhangbin, then said to Ho Qingchen, Ho Qingchen, stop Zhangbin, and by me half an hour. Understood. Hearing Ningyu's words, Ho Qingchen gritted his teeth and said in a low voice, Sun Xing, leave 2 peak primal core stage martial artists. The rest will deal with the Zhang family's martial artists with you. Swoosh! As his voice fell, Ho Qingchen took a step forward, and the yuan qi in his body burst out. He was the first to rush toward Zhangbin. Lu family head, Fong family head, you two and Ho Qingchen will deal with Zhangbin together. The rest follow me. Sun Xing's face was cold as he joined the battle. Damn it! Zhangbin cursed in his heart. His face was extremely ugly. He did not expect Ningyu to be so cunning as to use this method to enter the Zhang family. Right now, the yin-yang stage martial artist from the corpse sect was refining elixirs, and he was at a critical moment. If he was disturbed, the refining of elixirs would fail, and the worst case would be qi deviation. Therefore, no matter what, he had to stop Ningyu. Boom! In front of the Zhang family's gate, the martial artists from both sides finally fought because of Ningyu. The fuse of this battle, Ningyu, had already entered the Zhang family's courtyard. Trespassers of the Zhang family, kill! As soon as Ningyu entered the Zhang family's courtyard, he was besieged by 50 true realm martial artists. Red Devil, kill! Ning, you casually threw out the Red Devil sword and held the soul-severing sword in his hand as he shouted. Relatively speaking, Ningyu preferred to use the soul-severing sword. After all, he had used the soul-severing sword for a long time and was more comfortable with it. Unless he was dealing with a peak Yuan Dan or yin-yang stage martial artist, Ningyu did not want to use the Red Devil sword. Since Ningyu used the soul-severing sword, the Red Devil naturally had complete control of the Red Devil sword. He transformed into his human form and held the Red Devil sword in his hand as he charged left and right among the true realm martial artists. With every thrust of the Red Devil's sword, a true realm martial artist of the Zhang family was killed. Ningyu, these martial artists are strange. While attacking, the Red Devil said, I also notice that they are very dull, as if they are controlled by the spirit pill. Ningyu was also very puzzled. These true realm martial artists had very weak self-awareness and basically relied on their physical strength to fight their enemies. This kind of performance was similar to a martial artist who had taken a spirit pill. Could it be that the corpse sect has developed a new type of spirit pill, and it can be mass-produced? Thinking of this, Ningyu's face became completely gloomy. Chapter 373. Chapter 373. The Alchemist's Bang. After knocking a true realm martial artist back, Ningyu said in a low voice. Hong Mo, ignore them. Hurry up and find the Inyang realm martial artist. Let's split up. Whoever finds him first, inform the other party. Got it. Hong Mo's face was also very solemn. He nodded heavily and immediately slashed out a shocking sword ray, forcing all the true realm martial artists in front of him to retreat. Then, Hong Mo flew towards the west. Swoosh! As for Ningyu, he ran in the opposite direction of Hong Mo and flashed in another direction. The reason why Ningyu wanted to enter the Zhang family was because he had just contacted Sun Jiangwen. From Sun Jiangwen, he found out that the Zhang family's Inyang realm martial artist was an alchemist. Although his alchemy level was not as good as Sun Jiangwen's, it was still at the advanced stage of the 7th grade. Furthermore, Sun Jiangwen told him that the Zhang family's advanced stage 7th grade alchemist was refining a special kind of elixir. As for what elixir it was, Sun Jiangwen did not know because the Zhang family's advanced stage 7th grade alchemist was directly under the command of the alchemist hall master. The Zhang family was very big and there were many restrictions set up inside. These restrictions were all aimed at soul power, so Ningyu did not dare to use too much of his soul power. He could only use it 3 meters away from his body. Relatively speaking, Hong Mo did not have these restrictions. He was a spiritual body, and what he used was not soul power. Therefore, the Zhang family's soul power restriction did not have any effect on him. Crack! 10 minutes later, Hong Mo landed in front of a luxurious room. Ning. Feeling the strong aura emanating from the room, Hong Mo wanted to communicate with Ningyu. However, before he could say anything, he forcefully swallowed it back down his throat. Although the aura emanating from the room was stronger, Hong Mo could tell that the martial artist in the room had not reached the Inyang realm. At most, he was at the peak of the primal core realm. With Hong Mo's strength, he was not afraid of a peak of the primal core realm martial artist. Therefore, Hong Mo dismissed the idea of informing Ningyu. Taking a deep breath, Hong Mo stabbed out with his sword. Suddenly, a strong sword ray appeared and blasted towards the door. Inside the room, Link was refining pills. In order to break through the ivory tower, the alchemist hall sent out a total of 3 alchemists. Peak 7th grade alchemist Sun Jiangwen, late 7th grade alchemist Su Jinfu, middle 7th grade alchemist Link. In this plan, the 3 of them had different roles, but they were equally important. Sun Jiangwen was in charge of refining the body explosion pill. The body explosion pill was the key pill to blow up the entrance of the ivory tower. Su Jinfu was in charge of refining the inner demon pill to control the higher-ups of Ivory City. Link, on the other hand, was in charge of refining the improved spirit pill, a level 5 spirit pill. The elixir consumed by the dozens of true realm martial artists outside was the 5th grade nether pill refined by Link. With Link's status as a mid-level level 7 alchemist, he could basically mass-produce level 5 soul pills. The entire room was filled with hundreds of jade bottles of various sizes, and each jade bottle contained more than 10 nether spirit pills. I've refined a total of 180 bottles of 5th grade dark spirit pills, and I still need the last 20. Not good. After concocting another batch of spirit pills, Link glanced at the jade bottles around him. Just as he was about to relax, his expression changed drastically, and he hurriedly retreated. Ka-cha! Boom! Not long after Link retreated, he heard a cracking sound, and then a sword blasted towards the place where he had just been, directly causing the ground to cave in. Hiss! Such a powerful attack caused Link to suck in a breath of cold air. At the same time, he was very glad that if he had not retreated in time, he would have been smashed into meat paste. Damn it! What the hell is Zhongbin doing? Link's first thought was not to fight with the Red Devil, but to curse Zhongbin. With Link's soul perception, he could naturally vaguely determine that the Red Devil was in the late primal core stage. The late primal core stage was not enough to pose a fatal threat to him. The only thing that surprised Link was the red flying sword in the Red Devil's hand. From the red flying sword, he felt a strong and terrifying aura. King level flying sword. Almost instantly, Link judged that the Red Devil's level had reached the King level. The King level flying sword was enough to make Link attach great importance to it. I have to say, you are very brave, very brave. Link's expression was solemn, and he said in a low voice, "Give me the flying sword in your hand, and I can spare your life." Have you lost your mind? The Red Devil seemed to have heard the funniest joke in the world. The corners of his mouth curled up, and he said coldly, "With your peak primal core stage cultivation, you want to kill me?" "Humph. Whether I can kill you or not, I will only know after I try." With a cold snort, Link suddenly flicked his sleeves, and in an instant, a cold light shot out towards the Red Devil. Facing the cold light that was coming towards him, the Red Devil waved the flying sword in his hand, and the sword light scattered in all directions, instantly shattering the cold light that Link had thrown out. Swoosh! After the attack, the Red Devil did not retreat, but instead moved forward, controlling the Red Devil's sword to attack Link. Haha! Link laughed evilly, and immediately the mid-stage 7th grade soul power in his body poured out, and scrupulously suppressing the Red Devil. It seems that I have wronged Jongbin. If it were not for him, I would not have gotten this King level flying sword. Link seemed to see the King level flying sword waving at him, and his face was already full of smiles. The next moment, Link's smile froze on his face, and he even revealed a look of horror. "Thank you for your soul power." The Red Devil raised his eyebrows and controlled the Red Devil sword to erupt with a strong suction force. Under Link's horrified expression, the sword frantically swallowed his soul power. Damn it! Link cursed under his breath, and with a thought, he quickly withdrew the rest of his soul power. However, his reaction was obviously half a beat too slow, causing a third of the mid-stage 7th grade soul power to be swallowed. The strength of the mid-stage 7th grade soul power is not bad. Sticking out his tongue and licking his lips, the Red Devil planned to tell Ningyu this good news. Right now, Ningyu's soul power was at the mid-stage 5th grade soul power. If he could completely devour the soul power of the warrior in front of him, he could at least advance to the late-stage 5th grade soul power, or even the peak of 5th grade soul power. In any case, the warrior in front of him was from the Incorp sect, so it would be a waste not to devour his soul power. A devouring flying sword. This flying sword is actually a devouring flying sword. Link's heart was bleeding. Due to his carelessness, he had instantly lost a third of his soul power. He made up his mind that no matter what, he must obtain this red flying sword. You have completely angered me. There is only one ending for those who anger me. Taking a step back, Link waved his hand and put the jade bottle on the ground into his storage bag. Then he coldly said, "That is death." The moment the word death fell, Link raised his speed to the limit and rushed towards the Red Devil. How can you be my opponent after losing a third of your soul power? Originally, the Red Devil wanted to tell this news to Ningyu, but now he changed his mind. He planned to first kill the warrior in front of him and then devour his soul power. Chapter 374. Link, Even if I don't use my soul power, I can easily kill you. Link appeared beside the Red Devil in the blink of an eye. He snorted coldly and then punched with a violent gust of wind. It landed squarely on the Red Devil's chest. Afterimage. As soon as Link's fist came into contact with the Red Devil's body, he realized that something was wrong. This was because his fist had actually pierced through the Red Devil's chest. Hee, your speed isn't very fast either. At the same time, the Red Devil, who had already appeared behind Link, smiled and stabbed the flying sword in his hand at Link's back. Puff! As the Red Devil's sword was extremely fast, Link didn't have time to react. The sound of the flying sword stabbing into the flesh rang out in the room. The Red Devil didn't plan to stop after his attack. He pulled out the Red Devil sword and swept it at Link's neck. Hit the snake where it hurts, don't hold back. The Red Devil knew that the people of the Corpse-Ean sect were all extremely cunning. If they were given a chance, they might fail miserably. Therefore, the Red Devil decided to kill the warrior in front of him first. Damn it! At the critical moment, Link cursed and hurriedly lowered his head. Swish! Fortunately, Link dodged in time. Otherwise, the Red Devil's sword would have separated his head from his body. Run! Although he had dodged the Red Devil's fatal blow, Link knew that he was no match for the Red Devil. There was only one thought in his mind, and that was to escape. Escape as soon as possible. As the saying goes, where there's life, there's hope. This sentence was the true portrayal of Link's heart at this moment. However, how could the Red Devil give him the chance to escape? In the next moment, the Red Devil's figure flashed and directly entered the Red Devil sword, fusing with it. What? You're a spirit body. Seeing the Red Devil fuse with the flying sword, Link's eyes widened and his face was filled with confusion. He knew that the red flying sword was a king-level magic treasure, but he didn't expect the man in red to be a spirit body. The spirit body of a king-level flying sword was far from what he could match. At this moment, Link felt a little regretful. He regretted not escaping immediately. If he had run away immediately, he would still have had a chance of survival. But now, his chances of survival were extremely slim. Even if I die, I'll drag someone down with me. Link gritted his teeth and took out his golden core. Buzz! Link's golden core was not very big. It was only the size of a fist. However, his golden core contained violent yuan qi, and there were even traces of soul power fluctuations. Go! With a low grunt, Link controlled the golden core to attack the Red Devil. Just in time. Faced with the approaching golden core, the Red Fiend was delighted instead of angry. He suddenly sped up, causing the Red Fiend's sword to stab at Link's golden core. Poochie! The speed of the Red Demon's sword was very fast. It seemed to reach Link's golden elixir in an instant and ruthlessly stabbed into it. Devour! As soon as the Red Fiend's sword pierced into Link's golden core, the Red Fiend controlled it to unleash a powerful devouring force. It frantically devoured Link's essence energy and weak soul power. Just you wait. I'll take back everything that I've lost in a while. Link seized the opportunity when the Red Demon's sword devoured the golden core and immediately leaped up. He did not hesitate to burn his blood essence to increase his speed. This was a huge calamity for Link. If he could survive it, he could even try to advance to the Yin-Yang realm. Of course, abandoning the golden core would at least reduce Link's strength by several times. It could be said that apart from his speed, even an early-stage Khanate realm warrior could easily kill him in terms of martial arts. Ningyu, come here quickly. There's a mid-stage, 7th grade alchemist here. Seeing Link escape, the Red Fiend cursed under his breath and immediately informed Ningyu. He was controlling the Red Demon's sword to devour the yuan qi in the golden core, so he naturally had no time to care about Link. The Red Fiend knew that he could not let Link escape. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. Bam! However, just as the Red Fiend was worrying about Link's escape, a crisp voice sounded from outside the door. Immediately after, a figure fell into the room and landed heavily on the ground. Ningyu! The Red Fiend looked at the twitching figure on the ground and then at the martial artist who slowly appeared at the door. He said in surprise, "How did you get here so fast?" I searched that direction and didn't find any Yin-Yang realm martial artists, so I rushed over here. After entering the room, Ningyu shrugged, then pointed at Link on the ground and said, "I just happened to run into this injured Corpse-Ean sect martial artist. Since I ran into him, only death awaits him. Don't kill me. I can tell you the Corpse-Ean sect's plan. I can tell you the whole plan. After losing his golden core, his soul force was devoured by a third, and now he was seriously injured by Ningyu. Link was trembling. In the face of death, he gave up his dignity and began to beg for mercy. I already know the corpse insect's plan. There's no need for you to tell me, Ningyu said lightly. No, there's one thing you definitely don't know. In the whole plan, only 3 people know about it. One is me, and the other is the alchemist temple master, and the other one is Su Jinfu. Link said hurriedly. Who is Su Jinfu? Ningyu frowned. Su Jinfu is a 7th grade alchemist at the late stage. He is ranked high in the alchemist temple. Link didn't dare to neglect and said, the alchemist temple master asked Su Jinfu to refine the demons of Heart Pill in order to control the higher-ups of Ivory City. Although the plan to attack Ivory City is relatively perfect, it is very likely that there will be some mistakes, so the alchemist temple master has made 2 plans. It will be great if the attack succeeds, but if it fails, the demons of Heart Pill refined by Su Jinfu will play a vital role. The alchemist temple master wants to use the demons of Heart Pill to control the higher-ups of Ivory City and wait for an opportunity to launch a second sneak attack. Hiss! Hearing Link's words, Ningyu couldn't help but gasp. Not to mention whether what Link said was true or not, the idea itself was crazy. No matter whether it succeeded or not, the corpsine sect would be the biggest winner. It seems that the 7th grade alchemist Sun Jiangwen mentioned is Su Jinfu. Taking a deep breath, Ningyu said again, Do you know where Su Jinfu is? Why didn't I find him in the Zhang family? You must promise to let me live. Otherwise I won't tell you. Link chose to keep silent. You have no right to bargain. Ningyu's face turned cold, and the primordial qi in his body poured out and gathered on his wrist. Taking a step forward, Ningyu raised his palm and was about to chop off Link's head. I'll tell you. Chapter 375. His cultivation base skyrocketed. Tell me, where is the Zhang family's forbidden area? Ningyu asked again. This time, Link did not answer directly. Instead, he shook his head and said, Only Zhangbin knows where the Zhang family's forbidden area is. I don't know. Moreover, even if you can find the Zhang family's forbidden area, you won't be able to enter. That's because the key to the forbidden area is in Zhangbin's hands. Noisy! As soon as Link finished speaking, Ningyu gripped the soul-severing sword in his hand and charged forward with both feet on the ground. Puchi! The soul-severing sword gradually enlarged in Link's eyes, and in the end, it pierced right into his heart. The sound of a flying sword piercing into flesh rang out. Link's eyes widened, and then his eyes rolled back as he lost consciousness. Phew! At this moment, the Red Devil let out a long breath and rushed out from the Red Devil's sword. Looking at the dead Link, the Red Devil frowned and said, Ningyu, I was still thinking of devouring his mid-7th grade soul power. If you kill him, won't your soul power dissipate as well? Hee, I won't kill him so easily. With a faint smile, Ningyu said, If I'm not wrong, his soul power is now completely holed up in his sea of consciousness, trying to deceive everyone. That's not good. Hearing this, the Red Devil's expression changed. Once again, he fused with the Red Devil's sword and entered Link's sea of consciousness. Oh, he's really hiding here. After entering Link's sea of consciousness, the Red Devil immediately discovered the soul power that was holed up in a corner. He was very familiar with this soul power. It was the remaining 2/3 of Link's soul power. Devour! With a low roar, the Red Devil unleashed the Red Devil sword's devouring power to the extreme, frantically devouring Link's remaining soul power. Buzz, buzz! The Red Devil sword's devouring power was indeed powerful. In a short span of 10 minutes, it had completely devoured the remaining soul power of Link. Puchi! Then the Red Devil flew out of Link's mind and transformed into a human. Not bad. It's a 7th grade middle stage soul power. If I devour it, my soul power will likely advance to the 5th grade middle stage. Ningyu nodded in satisfaction as he felt the pure soul power within the red demon sword. Ningyu, why don't you devour the soul force in the red fiend sword first? I'll protect you, said the red fiend. It will take me about 30 minutes to devour all these souls. After thinking about it, Ningyu said, Go out and help Ho Ching Chin and the others. I'm afraid they won't be able to hold on for 2 hours. But the red devil still wanted to say something, but seeing Ningyu's expression, he didn't say anything in the end. Instead, his figure flashed as he rushed towards the Zhang family's door. Suck. After the red fiend disappeared, Ningyu looked at the red fiend's sword in his hand, took a deep breath, and sat down cross-legged. Ningyu didn't waste any time. He directly sent half of his soul power into the red fiend's sword and began to devour the pure soul power within. Link was a level 7 intermediate stage alchemist, and the strength of his soul power had reached level 7 intermediate stage. With the strength of Ningyu's soul power of level 5 intermediate stage, if he completely devoured Link's soul power, his soul power would easily advance to level 5 advanced stage. The reason why Ningyu only used half of his soul power into the red fiend sword was because he wanted to refine the red spirit fruit. After killing Gue Air, Ningyu found 2 crimson spirit fruits from Gue Air's storage pouch. The red spirit fruit was a level 7 pinnacle stage fruit. It could allow a primal core stage warrior to advance by 1 stage unconditionally. Ningyu was in the true martial realm. He was very much looking forward to refining the red spirit fruit to see what level he could advance to. With a flick of his wrist, Ningyu took out a red spirit fruit and put it in his mouth. Swish! The red spirit fruit was indeed a level 7 pinnacle stage fruit. It melted in his mouth. Traces of the crimson spirit fruit's medicinal liquid flowed from his throat into Ningyu's stomach, giving Ningyu an extremely comfortable feeling. This feeling was as if he was bathing in a rich essence qi. Enter my sea of knowledge. In the next moment, Ningyu operated the spiritual art and transferred the medicinal liquid of the red spirit fruit into his sea of knowledge. In his sea of knowledge, the 4 illusory golden dawns saw the red spirit fruit's medicinal liquid. They were like hungry wolves that had encountered a small white rabbit. Bang! 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 About 10 minutes later, for muffled sounds rang out. Late-stage true martial realm. Sinking his mind into a sea of knowledge, Ningyu saw the transformation of the 4 illusory golden dawn. His mouth was agape, revealing a look of disbelief. Originally, he thought that although a red spirit fruit could allow him to advance to late-stage true martial realm, it would not be so easy. In just 10 minutes, he had advanced from the true martial realm middle stage to late stage true martial realm. This speed was really terrifying. Why don't I swallow the last red spirit fruit into my stomach? At this moment, a bold idea emerged in Ningyu's mind. If a red spirit fruit could allow him to advance to late-stage true martial realm, then 2 red spirit fruits could very likely allow him to advance to peak true martial realm. No, I have just advanced to late-stage true martial realm, and my cultivation has not stabilized. I should wait for a while before consuming the last red spirit fruit. Ningyu resisted the strong temptation of advancing his cultivation and did not take out the second red spirit fruit. Crack! Suddenly, a clear cracking sound rang out. Hearing this cracking sound, Ningyu's eyes widened again, and his mouth opened wide enough to fit a fist. Swoosh! A cold light swept out from the red demon sword and instantly entered Ningyu's body. Late stage, 5th grade soul force? The cold light that had entered Ningyu's body was none other than soul force. To be precise, it was late-stage 5th grade soul force. In other words, Ningyu's soul force had advanced to late-stage 5th grade soul force. In a short period of time, Ningyu's soul force had advanced to late-stage 5th grade soul force, and his cultivation had advanced to late-stage true martial realm. Even the most heaven-defying genius of the great Xia kingdom could not achieve such a speed of advancement. Solitaire, with his soul force and cultivation advancing to late-stage 5th grade soul force, Ningyu immediately waved the red demon sword and slashed out a sword wave. Chi chi chi, the sword wave slashed out at lightning speed, and the friction with the air produced a sizzling sound. Boom! In the next moment, the sword wave suddenly exploded, and the aftermath of the explosion spread out in all directions. Such a powerful explosion caused Ningyu to reveal a look of ecstasy. With my current strength, I should be able to contend with early-stage Yin-Yang realm martial artists. If I use my trump card, I can even kill them. Keeping the red demon sword, Ningyu went straight to Link's side and extended his palm to feel Link's body. After a while, Ningyu retracted his palm. In his hand, there was a storage bag and a token that represented his identity. Ningyu first threw the token into the storage ring, and then his soul force quietly entered the storage bag. So many ghost pills. As soon as his soul force entered the storage bag, Ningyu found more than 100 jade bottles in the storage bag. Chapter 376. Submit to me so many ghost pills. It seems that the Corpsine sect not only wants to control the higher-ups of Ivory City, but also wants to build an underground force in Ivory City. Link said that the Alchemist Hall had sent 3 alchemists this time. Among them, Sun Jiangwen refined the body explosion pill in order to break through the entrance of the Ivory Tower. Su Jinfu was responsible for refining the inner demon pill to control the higher-ups of Ivory City. It was very likely that Link wanted to build an underground force in Ivory City by refining this special ghost pill, because only in this way, when the Corpsine sect attacked Ivory City for the second time, they could cooperate with each other and easily break through Ivory City. No, I must find Su Jinfu as soon as possible. Taking a deep breath, Ningyu put the storage bag into his storage ring and then flew toward the Zhang family's door. If he wanted to find Su Jinfu, he must find the Zhang family's forbidden area, which was only known by Zhang Bin, and the key to the forbidden area was in Zhang Bin's hands. In addition, the Red Devil and Ho Qingchen were fighting with Zhang Bin, so it was reasonable for Ningyu to go and help. Pucci. At the same time, in front of the Zhang family's door, Zhang Bin seized a flaw in Ho Qingchen's defense and punched him in the chest. The intense pain from his chest caused Ho Qingchen to feel a sweetness in his throat as he spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. Humph! I have already said that a group of trash like you is no match for me. After defeating Ho Qingchen, Zhang Bin snorted coldly and was about to enter the Zhang family. In Zhang Bin's view, Su Jinfu's safety could not be lost. Although he didn't know what kind of pill Su Jinfu was refining, he could tell from Su Jinfu's expression that it must be very important. Swish! However, just as Zhang Bin moved his feet, a red afterimage appeared in the air and blocked his path. You also want to stop me? Looking at the martial artist in red who suddenly appeared in front of him, Zhang Bin's face suddenly became gloomy, and he said coldly, even Ho Qingchen, who is at the early stage of Yin-Yang realm, is no match for me, and you are no match for me. As soon as the word no fell, Zhang Bin's eyes became cold, and as he waved his sleeve, a sharp cold light appeared and attacked the martial artist in red in front of him. Red Demon Slash. The man in red was none other than the Red Fiend. In the beginning, Ho Qingchen and the 2 peak primal core stage warriors dealt with Zhang Bin. Hong Mo did not join the battle, but worked with Sun Xing and the others to encircle the remaining Zhang family warriors. Who would have thought that Ho Qingchen and the others would not be able to persist for too long before they were defeated? Helpless, the Red Fiend could only brace himself to resist Zhang Bin. The Red Fiend knew that Ningyu was devouring the soul force of the Zhang family. At this time he must not be disturbed, or the consequences would be unimaginable. Hong Mo's eyes turned cold as a small red flying sword suddenly appeared in his hand. He quickly slashed out a terrifying sword beam. Chi-chi! The sword light and the cold light collided as a chi-chi sound rang out. Hong Mo's expression changed as he stomped on the ground and retreated, because at the moment when the two collided, the sword ray that he sent out was dispersed, and Zhang Bin's cold ray was still attacking him vigorously. Damn it! Cursing inwardly, Hong Mo's expression turned ugly. The small red flying sword was not the Red Fiend's original body. It was just an illusion. Now that the Red Fiend was with Ningyu, without the support of the Red Fiend, the power of his sword ray would be reduced by at least half. Gritting his teeth, the Red Fiend waved the small flying sword in his hand again and continuously slashed out sword rays, continuously colliding with Zhang Bin's cold ray. Chi, 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 chi. Zhang Bin was indeed a peak early yin-yang stage warrior. The cold ray that he attacked was so powerful that it was only after the Red Fiend slashed out the 10th sword ray that it completely dispersed. Hee, you have to use all your strength to block a casual attack of mine. What do you have to fight me with? Zhang Bin said with a smile. Is that so? Just as Zhang Bin finished his sentence, a voice came from the courtyard of the Zhang family. As the voice rang out, a slightly thin figure slowly walked out from the courtyard. Zhang Bin, you said that Hong Mo does not have the ability to fight you. What if I join in? The thin figure came to stand beside Hong Mo and smiled at Zhang Bin. Ningyu! Looking at the familiar figure in front of him, Zhang Bin was slightly startled at first, but then he revealed a happy expression. Originally, he was worried that Su Jinfu would be in danger. Now that he saw Ningyu, he was relieved. Su Jinfu was in the forbidden area. If Ningyu entered the Zhang family, he would definitely not be able to find Su Jinfu. If you had escaped from the Zhang family, I would not have been able to do anything to you. Since you have delivered yourself to me, I can only kill you. Zhang Bin's lips curled up as he said gloomily, You want to kill me? That depends on whether you have the ability or not. With a cold smile, Ningyu flicked his sleeve, and suddenly a token flew toward Zhang Bin. Pa! Catching the token, Zhang Bin's face instantly turned gloomy. On the token, there were 2 large blood-red words. Link! Crack, crack! Zhang Bin clenched his fists so hard that cracking sounds could be heard. He said gloomily, Where did you get this token? Shrugging, Ningyu said, Where else could I get it from? Of course, it's from the Zhang family. Oh, right, I forgot to tell you, the owner of this token has already been killed by me. Now, not even a hair is left. You. Zhang Bin's chest heaved up and down. He was on the verge of exploding in anger. Although Link was not as good as Su Jinfu, he was still a 7th grade mid-stage alchemist. His status in the Corpse Yin sect was very high. Now that Link had died in the Zhang family, how could he explain it to the Alchemist Temple Lord? Even if the Alchemist Temple Lord was willing to listen to his explanation, Link's friend would not let him go. The only thing he could do now was to capture Ningyu and push all the blame onto Ningyu. Only then would he have a chance to survive. Hong Mo, you go deal with the rest of the Zhang family's experts. As for Zhang Bin, leave him to me. Ningyu waved his hand and said to Hong Mo, ever since his martial arts cultivation and soul power had both advanced to the 5th grade late stage, Ningyu's strength had made great progress. He could fight and even kill an early-stage yin-yang stage martial artist. Moreover, the Zhang family's experts were not just for show. The 2 peak primal core stage martial artists each had the combat power of a half-step yin-yang stage martial artist. If not for the slight advantage in numbers, Sun Xing and the others would not have been able to hold on. Then you be careful. Hong Mo knew that he would only cause trouble for Ningyu if he stayed. so he did not hesitate and directly joined the battle on Sun Qing's side. Ho Qingqian and the two peak primal core stage martial artists had basically lost their combat power due to Zhang Bin's heavy attacks. They could only pray that Ningyu would win. Ningyu, I originally wanted to kill you, but now I've changed my mind. At this critical moment, Zhang Bin was surprisingly calm, so calm that it was somewhat scary. He raised his eyebrows and said lightly, I'll give you a chance. Obediently surrender to me, and I can still spare your life. Zhang Bin, don't tell me you've lost your mind. Chapter 377. Zhangbin, you want me to submit to you? Are you worthy? When Ningyu's arrogant words fell, all the cultivators in the area were dumbfounded. Everyone looked at Ningyu in astonishment. The expressions on their faces were very interesting. Gulp! Someone swallowed a mouthful of saliva. The originally quiet area gradually became noisy. Isn't Ningyu a little too bold? I think so too. The opponent is Zhang Bin, a martial artist at the peak of the early Yinyang realm. Does Ningyu think he can defeat Zhang Bin? Defeat Zhang Bin? Hee, don't talk nonsense. If Ningyu can defeat Zhang Bin, I'll twist my head off and let you use it as a chamber pot. One is in the true martial realm, and the other is in the Yinyang realm. The difference in strength between the two is like heaven and earth. There is no comparison at all. This time, all the martial artists had the same thought. They all thought that Ningyu would lose without a doubt. There was no possibility of him winning. A true martial realm martial artist defeated a Yinyang realm martial artist? It could only exist in one's imagination. Reality was reality. Soon, I'll let you know if I'm worthy or not. Zhang Bin's eyes flashed. He raised his right hand and pointed at Ningyu. Not good. The moment Zhang Bin raised his right hand, Ningyu realized something was wrong and immediately retreated backward. Kacha! Sure enough, as soon as Ningyu disappeared, the space where he had been standing suddenly exploded, revealing a small whirlpool. A king-grade spatial magic treasure really isn't simple. With a serious look in his eyes, Ningyu knew that he had to give it his all. Otherwise, he might fail miserably. Zhang Bin, who was at the peak of the early Yinyang realm, was not scary. What was scary was a magic treasure that could control space. It could be said that as long as Zhang Bin had sufficient yuan qi and soul force, he could use spatial treasures without fear. I have to think of a way. While shuttling back and forth in this area, Ningyu's mind was spinning rapidly, thinking of countermeasures. Hee, I already said that Ningyu is not Zhang Bin's opponent. You still don't believe me? Look, Ningyu is like a stray dog now. Ningyu's cultivation is too low. He is only in the true martial realm. If he were to advance to the Yuandan realm, he might be able to contend with Zhang Bin. After all, he is a core disciple of Danwu College's Sacred Courtyard. Origin core stage? You're overestimating Ningyu too much. In my opinion, even if he advanced to the Origin core stage, it would still be impossible for him to be Zhang Bin's match. Don't be too sure. Let's wait and see. No one was optimistic about Ningyu in the first place. Now that Ningyu was at a complete disadvantage, everyone was even more pessimistic about Ningyu. Although there were a few cultivators who spoke up for Ningyu, they were quickly drowned in the sea of saliva from the crowd. Zhang Bin, there are too many people here. We can't display our full strength. Let's go to the Zhang family and fight. Just as everyone was discussing spiritedly, Ningyu's heart moved. While fleeing towards the Zhang family, he shouted to Zhang Bin in a low voice, "If you have the guts, come over here!" Swoosh! Ningyu's speed was very fast. Almost in an instant, he disappeared from everyone's sight and entered the Zhang family. Seeing Ningyu enter the Zhang family, Zhang Bin was slightly surprised. Without thinking too much, he rose from the ground and chased after him. In Zhang Bin's heart, he firmly believed that in the face of absolute strength, Any tricks and schemes were useless. Ningyu escaped. He can't escape. I guess in less than 10 minutes. Zhang Bin will kill him. Tisk tsk, Ningyu is a core disciple of Danwu College's sacred courtyard. If he is killed here, Danwu College will definitely not let this matter go. So what if they won't let this matter go? Today, Ningyu broke into the Zhang family first. He was unreasonable first. Zhang Bin has already given Danwu College enough face by keeping him alive until now. Once Zhang Bin is free, Ho Qingqin and the rest will also be eliminated. Seeing Ningyu and Zhang Bin fly into the Zhang family, everyone began to discuss again. However, they only talked about it and did not dare to follow them into the Zhang family. In Ivory City, martial artists who trespassed into the Zhang family without permission had never had a good ending. In the past, there was a mid-primal core martial artist who entered the Zhang family regardless of the obstruction. At that time, he was beheaded by the Zhang family and hung on the gate of Ivory City for 3 days and 3 nights. Since then, no one had ever dared to trespass into the Zhang family. Of course, today's Ningyu was an exception. Swoosh! In the courtyard of the Zhang family, Ningyu stopped in place with a swoosh. At the same time, Ningyu cupped his fists and stared at Zhang Bin with interest. Being stared at by Ningyu, Zhang Bin felt a little numb all over his body. It felt like he was being stared at by a poisonous snake. Zhang Bin, I know you have a magical item that can control space. As long as you take it out, I will promise to surrender to you, Ningyu said. Are you lying to a child? Zhang Bin said coldly. No matter what you say today, I will not be fooled by you. Then, Zhang Bin quickly raised his hands and kept moving in front of him. Crack, crack, crack. Every time Zhang Bin's fingers moved, the space around Ningyu would explode once. Damn it! Cursing, Ningyu quietly put the quenching pill furnace in his cuff. Then, with the primal chi under his feet, he rushed toward Zhang Bin at an extremely shocking speed. Ningyu's movements were extremely covert, so covert that Zhang Bin did not notice any clues. He thought that Ningyu was going to fight him to the death, so his fingers moved even faster. Zhang Bin, have a taste of Gouet air stuff. In the next moment, the corner of Ningyu's mouth rose. With a flick of his cuff, the quenching pill furnace flew out and rushed toward Zhang Bin. Pill furnace! Looking at the pill furnace that was approaching him, Zhang Bin frowned slightly, very puzzled. Ningyu was about to be killed. How could he still have the guts to fight back? Fighting back was one thing, but not only did he not use force, but he also threw away the pill furnace. Not good. However, just as Zhang Bin was about to mock Ningyu, his expression changed greatly. Boom! In an instant, the quenching pill furnace exploded in front of him. Swoosh! Swoosh! The pill furnace exploded, and suddenly, 2 cold lights swept out, rushing toward Zhang Bin at an extremely shocking speed. Dead spirit chi! The moment the cold lights flew out, Zhang Bin realized that he had been careless. He had come into contact with Gouet air from the Ghost Talent Palace, and knew that Gouet air had 2 cold lights of dead spirit chi. Now that Gouet air was killed, there was a high possibility that his cold lights of dead spirit chi had fallen into the hands of Ningyu. Zhang Bin, don't you think it's a little too late to react now? While Zhang Bin was still in a daze, 2 cold beams of dead spirit chi had already arrived in front of his body. Moreover, under his terrified expression, 1 beam of dead spirit chi blasted his right arm, and the other beam of dead spirit chi blasted his chest. Chi. The dead spirit chi had an extremely strong corrosive power. As soon as it touched Zhang Bin's arm, the skin on Zhang Bin's arm began to sizzle. Ningyu, you will die a horrible death. Zhang Bin cursed angrily. He quickly raised his left hand, and with a crack, he chopped off his right arm. Chapter 378. Crippling Solitaire. I'll take your life while you're down." Just as Zhang Bin was flustered by the cold aura in his chest, Ning Yu's eyes narrowed. He immediately took out the red demon sword and waved it repeatedly. In an instant, a shocking sword wave swept out from the red demon sword and rushed toward Zhang Bin. Chi-chi! The sword wave was so fast that Zhang Bin didn't even have time to react before the sword wave arrived in front of him. Then, the sword wave gradually expanded in Zhang Bin's pupils, and without any deviation, it just happened to slash his chest. Bang! The huge force coming from his chest made Zhang Bin's throat taste sweet, and he spat out a mouthful of dark red blood. With a plop, Zhang Bin fell heavily to the ground. Ah! At the same time, the cold aura in Zhang Bin's chest entered his body and wreaked havoc in his internal organs. A miserable scream came out, and Zhang Bin's face was distorted to the extreme. "Zhang Bin, I'll give you a chance." Seeing that Zhang Bin had basically lost the ability to fight, Ningyu waved his hand and directly retrieved the quenching furnace and put it into his storage ring. Holding the red demon sword in his hand, Ningyu slowly walked toward Zhang Bin. Tap, tap, tap. Ningyu walked very slowly, and every step he took was heavy on the ground. Every sound left a trace of a mark in Zhang Bin's heart. In the end, Zhang Bin almost went crazy. Whoosh! 3 minutes later, Ning Yu came to Zhang Bin's side. He swung the red demon sword in his hand and placed it on Zhang Bin's neck. "Tell me where the Zhang family's forbidden area is, and I can spare your life." "You want me to tell you where the Zhang family's forbidden area is? Dream on." Although he was on the verge of going crazy, there was always a voice in Zhang Bin's mind warning him not to betray Su Jinfu and not to offend the corpse sect. If he offended Ningyu, the worst that could happen was death, but if he offended the corpse sect, they would make his life worse than death. "Hee, you don't want to tell me?" With a smirk, Ning Yu exerted a little force with the red demon sword in his hand and cut open the skin on Zhang Bin's neck. Streams of blood flowed down Zhang Bin's neck and dripped onto the red demon sword. Chi! Zhang Bin's blood had just dripped onto the red demon sword when it evaporated into nothingness, as if it had dripped onto a hot soldering iron. "Humph! Even if you kill me, I won't tell you." The blood flowing from his neck made Zhang Bin sober up. After he sobered up, he was even more determined to not betray Su Jinfu and the corpse sect. "Don't worry, I won't kill you." Hearing Zhang Bin's words, Ningyu withdrew the red demon sword and kicked Zhang Bin out of the Zhang family's courtyard. Outside the gates of the Zhang family, with the addition of the Red Fiend, Sun Xing and the others quickly gained the upper hand. However, after losing Ho Qing Qin and 2 peak primal core stage practitioners, Sun Xing and the rest could only gain the upper hand, and were unable to wipe out all the Zhang family practitioners in one fell swoop. Both sides fought for 5 minutes, and there were casualties on both sides. At this moment, a figure flew out of the Zhang family's courtyard, attracting everyone's attention. It's Zhang Bin. A sharp-eyed martial artist recognized the identity of the martial artist who flew out at a glance. Hee, I said that Zhang Bin wouldn't need 10 minutes to defeat Ningyu. Only 5 minutes have passed. Another martial artist laughed evilly. Yes, but to be able to last 5 minutes in the hands of Zhang Bin, Ningyu is also good enough. What? However, before this martial artist could finish his sentence, his mouth opened slightly, and an incredulous expression appeared on his face. Bang! With a loud bang, Zhang Bin fell to the ground like a dead dog. Silence! Silence! Deathly silence! The sudden change caused all the martial artists present to widen their eyes and open their mouths slightly. Their pupils revealed a look of horror. What the hell was going on? Why was Zhang Bin, who was at the peak of the early yin-yang stage, lying on the ground like a dead dog? Where was Ningyu, and where was Ningyu? A series of questions appeared on everyone's faces. Sha. Subsequently, a figure slowly walked out of the Zhang family's courtyard. Looking at the figure that walked out, Everyone's eyeballs almost fell out of their sockets. The expressions on their faces were as interesting as it could be. He is Ningyu? Not long after, a martial artist in the true martial realm stared at Ningyu and hesitated. It's Ningyu. Next to the martial artist in the true martial realm, a martial artist in the primal core stage swallowed his saliva and said, It's actually Ningyu. Isn't this too unbelievable? Could it be that Ningyu defeated Zhang Bin? I don't believe it. This is impossible. I don't believe it either. It can't be Ningyu. All the martial artists around shook their heads and unanimously denied that the martial artist who walked out of the Zhang family was Ningyu. They thought that this martial artist only looked a little like Ningyu. However, what Ningyu said next made them directly dumbfounded. They saw Ningyu standing in front of Zhang Bin and stepping on his head. His eyes swept across the Zhang family's martial artists and coldly said, Whoever says where the Zhang family's forbidden area is, I can spare his life. Voila! With Ningyu's actions and Ningyu's words, everyone finally concluded that the martial artist in front of them was Ningyu. It's really Ningyu, and he even defeated Zhang Bin. Who just said that if Ningyu defeated Zhang Bin, he would turn his head and let me use it as a chamber pot? I don't need a chamber pot, I just need a bench. This world is too crazy. Ningyu, who is in the middle stage of the true martial realm, can actually defeat Zhang Bin, who is in the early stage of the yin-yang realm. You're out of your mind. Ningyu is not in the middle stage of the true martial realm, but in the late stage of the true martial realm. Following the last martial artist's finger, everyone looked at Ningyu. Feeling the aura exuding from Ningyu's body, they still felt a little incredulous. After all, the late stage of the true martial realm was still far from the early stage of the yin-yang realm. Hee, since none of you are willing to say, so be it, I will start with Zhang Bin. Shrugging, Ningyu slightly exerted force on his ankle and pressed down on Zhang Bin's head. Shua! Seeing Ningyu's action, the Zhang family's martial artists turned their eyes to the only two peak primal core martial artists, hoping that they could make a decision. Being stared at by everyone, Zhang Hao and Zhang Jian's faces were gloomy. They indeed knew where the Zhang family's forbidden area was, but they did not dare to say it because they were afraid of offending the Corpsine sect. As the higher-ups of the Zhang family, they were very clear about the strength of the Corpsine sect. It was because they understood the strength of the Corpsine sect that they did not dare to tell Ningyu where the Zhang family's forbidden area was, because the late-stage 7th grade alchemist of the Corpsine sect, Su Jinfu, was in the Zhang family's forbidden area. Not going to say it? Ningyu raised his foot and suddenly stepped on Zhang Bin's left arm. Kacha! A crisp sound rang out, and immediately, Zhang Bin's left arm was directly broken. At this time, Zhang Bin was fighting with the dead spirit qi in his body. Even though his arm was in severe pain, he could not cry out. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.